Hello, today we are after the video, the stuff, we are going to be reacting to the mostly complete lore of Hollow Knight by Mossbag with 557k subscribers, with 359k likes, and 5,700 k dislikes, allegedly, according to you return YouTube dislikes, whatever how you plug in, I don't know, add-on thing, whatever. Anyway, yeah, because I just finished Hollow Knight, and I did a lot of shit. I did like 112% completion, and you can check that out. My playthrough. It's only like full stream VODs. I don't have an editor yet. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah. And now I'm just curious to see if my headcanons, right, were gonna be correct. So we're gonna do that, and let me. There we go, and boom. Okay, let me announce actually my headcanons. Like, the spirit guy, the warrior spirit that was in like orange. I think that guy, from what I understood, was the guy who created the infection, or maybe like spread it or something like that. Maybe that's who that is. Also, that Louis, the knight, whatever, like your character. I call it Louis because hello Louis, Louis, whatever. Forget about it. Don't forget about it. But that's how I call him because I don't know. I think it's cooler. I think this guy, like, it woke up like very late when it was like cast away, like with all the like dead like vessels, like imperfect vessels, and he was imperfect himself as well as the pure vessel. I mean the Hollow Knight, and it wasn't. I know there's a lot of shit in this. Now that I realize there's a fucking load of content. I might just pause and, like, before he says it, or her, I don't know, they like say whatever the fuck they're gonna say. Like, I may like pause it. Shh, this is what I think, and then like maybe I get proven wrong. All right, let's do this. Okay. Warning: this video contains a few spoilers for Hollow Knight. Please bear that in mind before embarking on this journey, or don't. I really don't care. I am just text on screen. Fair enough. I have never reacted to a video before or recorded. I mean, I did, but not like purely reaction. Okay, I get this is the first ever time. Okay. Please go easy on me.
If you were to ask me, what is your favorite video game ever made? I would have to say Cory in the House for the Nintendo DS. But Hollow Knight would be a close second.
Okay.
Hollow Knight was released on February 24th, 2017 by Team Cherry, an indie game studio based in the mythical land of Adelaide, South Australia. Over the past 3 years, based in the mythical land of Adelaide, South Australia. Over the past 3 years, Hollow Knight has become an indie darling. The game has sold over 3.5 million copies. It was the opening game at ADGQ 2019.
3.5? That's a fucking lot. I mean, I knew it was popular, but when's that video even made though? Like when it's like 5 years old. Imagine how much it does now. Like how much much sales it did like right about now. It's probably insane in the memory.
There's a Hollow Knight book, a line of plushies, t-shirts, nicotine patch.
I'm sad that they don't have the Grimmy Boy. I'm very, very, very sad they don't have a Grimmy Boy, Grimchild plushie. I looked it up the moment I've got him because he's so cute, and I did. There wasn't. I legitimately. If there was, I would have bought it like impulse buy instantly.
His nuclear warheads and even vinyl records for all you goddamn hipsters. Team Cherry had one goal when making Hollow Knight. They wanted to create a world that allowed players to get completely lost in exploration. We can see this desire in Hollow Knight's design. The levels in Hollow Knight are massive, with secrets and rewards hidden in every nook and cranny. Be that powerful charms, special abilities, or the game's navigation system requires the player to work for their map, forcing them to make a stronger mental image of the world in their head. Christopher Larkin's waiting for outsiders to challenge.
Unless wait, what did I do? Oh shit, I pressed 1. Oh my god, I skipped the whole fucking chunk of the video. Like unless okay, what did you say?
Be that power.
Yeah, unless you have Wayward Compass, which actually negates all that shit. Like, it doesn't matter if you have Wayward Compass. You can have a caveman level. I mean, no, cavemans actually have a very good sense of direction. But like if you were a moronic in terms of direction, you could always use Wayward Compass, which is what I did, and mostly a lot of people did as well.
Powerful charms, special abilities, or The game's navigation system requires the player to work for their map, forcing them to make a stronger mental image of the world in their head. Christopher Larkin's score and Ari Gibson's artwork lend to this as well, creating an atmosphere that
It
the
was
player
only two dudes? What? Only one guy made the music and one guy made the art of this whole fuck. Wait, okay, surely not. I mean, they were the credits were like really big. There's no way there was only two guys. Or maybe he's the director, our director, and that's what he made. Okay.
Don't want to leave. But there's one aspect of Hollow Knight that keeps people like me coming back: the world building.
Yeah, actually, really like that aspect of it.
When Super Metroid launched in 1994, it stood out for its amazing sense of immersion. Now in 1994, I was busy not being alive, but I've watched enough YouTube video essays to know that this game was a big deal. In case you didn't know, Super Metroid is basically the granddaddy of all Metroidvanias. That's why they're called Metroidvanias.
What's the Vania coming from? Is it like a... I had fucking Megalovania. No, it's not Megalovania. It's obviously not Megalovania. Shut the fuck up. It's how's it called again? The Dracula game, no? I forgot.
Now in Super Metroid, there are moments that give the player a sense of depth. Basically the feeling that this world exists outside of Samus's interactions with it. In the room right before that diabetic crocodile thing, Samus can find the corpse of a random soldier. His inclusion here doesn't change the gameplay at all, but instead gives the player a sense of wonder about the world they are exploring. Who was this guy? Why was he here in the first place? Did he like jazz? Now, finding dead bodies and other random garbage is pretty cool, right? Well, Hollow Knight basically does the same thing, about a dozen times.
Yeah.
Through its world building, Hollow Knight turns Hallownest into a living kingdom. You can sense the ancient history of the land when you look at dilapidated structures or giant barred doors. Nothing feels like it was put into the game randomly.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it all. Except those reasons aren't the
Wait,
easiest.
wait, what the fuck is that? Wait, did I miss... I was in the collector's... This feels like a collector stuff. This is the pet room. Yeah, maybe the grubblings are like have more power to them. That's why he was collecting them. Okay, that's actual lore. What? Okay, that gives a lot of like. Okay.
To uncover. Hollow Knight's narrative is buried under layers of NPC dialogue, item descriptions, lore tablets, and even additional content like the Quarrel comic and Fan Gamer's Wanderer's
It's a Quarrel. Wait. Okay, I'm gonna check it out later. Quarrel comic. Holy shit.
Journal. These past 3 years have seen an insane amount of research by the Hollow Knight community to make sense of Team Cherry's sprawling world. We've even made it to the point where people are looking at the in-game signs to try and decipher Hallownest's logographic language. In this video, I hope to give you a long and detailed look into the world of Hollow Knight,
They figure it out
exploring
now?
Hallownest's history and uncertain future. When I'm not busy making surprisingly accurate Super Smash Bros. Roster speculation videos, or insightful podcasts about beloved subjects like the Donkey Kong Country television series, or whatever this was supposed to be, I'm usually making videos about Hollow Knight. And while I am a seasoned
Fucking Tisso. Just seeing Tisso makes me sad because legitimately, okay, I miss the times when I didn't know shit about Hollow Knight. Yeah. I mean, I relate, but not with Hollow Knight, obviously. But like Prime Minecraft, bro. Bro, dude, those times nothing mattered. Like you just was like, you're just making some fucking random stuff. I don't know. I don't know. Man, that just instantly made me like, okay. But yeah, Tisso. I'm so sad we never got to actually fight Tisso. And in the Hallownest thing, like, like boom, there's Tisso. Finally, yes, we're gonna fight him. And then he gets crushed by fucking the gnawing, brooding Moloch insect, bro. Like, for fuck's sake, you know what I'm saying? Like. I was so sad. I really wanted to fight him. And we got cock-blocked.
Hollow Knight lore expert, I cannot confirm that every musing or theory presented in this video is completely correct. I highly recommend checking out the lore section of the Hollow Knight wiki if you want a more neutral explanation of Hollow Knight's lore. But if you're too lazy to read, then I suggest you sit back, order some Domino's pizza, or just grab a block of cheese from the fridge.
I agree with that better. A block of cheese is way better than a pizza. It does look like a priest.
Enjoy the mostly complete lore of Hollow Knight.
Alright. It was 5 years ago. Like, Maybe this like has been like breakthroughs in like Hollow Knight lore and shit in the meantime, you know. But to be honest, the game is. When did the game come out? It probably came out like eons ago. Now that I think about it, and like you people have been waiting for Silksong for what, 7 years? I think. Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. So I think if it's 5 years ago, is an okay time frame. Like 2 years after everything. Okay. Okay. I never mind. I think they probably got this shit down.
It's a simple fact of life that every human worships a god, be that technology, ideologies, or in rare cases, God. As it turns out, the bugs in Halnest.
Sorry for pausing again, but that's so true. That's a concept. Okay, this is gonna be a tangent. You can skip ahead, alright? Unless you're on the stream and you have to suffer. But like this thing is so true, and that's something I very much believe very hard. Is that humans are like, you know, our primal needs, you know, like one of our basic needs are, you know, there's like eating, there's you know, drinking, there's sleeping, there's fucking, you know, all those things. And then one of them that like I guess is always forgotten is I genuinely I personally believe that humans are meant to worship by design. You know, by design we're meant to worship something, someone, something, something. You know, like and I love your obsession. Yay! Like we are always meant to, like, no matter who you are. It's not even a matter of religion. We are built to worship. And funny that I got the fucking priest thing. Okay, but it's like, you know, if it's not a religion, if it's not God, it's like, yeah, technology. You know, like people like worship like it's hard to explain, but like they consecrate so much time to like for example technology. You know, like consumerism, consuming. You know, the thing they find peace in is by consuming things, and that's like an act of worship. It's like the act of worship relating to that like entity, if you want to say that. Like, and there's like people that worship you know, like idols, like, you know, like art, like, you know, idols literally are called idols, you know, in like like Korean like music and stuff. But like that's now like a widespread thing. Like people like center their life around like loving Taylor Swift or some stuff like that. And nothing against her, don't listen to her music, but you know what I'm saying. And like, you know, and then there's the, you know, the religions. I personally am religious myself, but like I just feel like it's a universal thing. Even if you're an atheist, you still worship something. You know, maybe you would like it's complicated to explain. It's like always like a way that you as a human being will end up worshiping. You know, you're always worshiping something, whether it's greater. Sometimes it's yourself. You know, you know what I mean. But yeah, maybe I haven't said anything much of value right now, but it's something that just makes sense to me. You can't, like, humans are not meant to not believe in anything. You know, there's always going to be something we follow. You know, something we believe in. You know, something we consecrate ourselves to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Pretty much operate in the same way. From the Mosskin born from the dream of a giant slug, to the emo kids of the ancient civilization who literally worship the darkness, there is no shortage of things to worship in the world of Hollow Knight. Our story begins with a creature very much worthy of worship. A creature born from the carcass of a worm. The carcass can still be found in the Kingdom's Edge, and it's our only good look at what worms actually looked like. At the time Hollow Knight occurs, it is suggested there are no worms left in the world. They were incredibly long creatures that featured little to no limbs.
Wait. What do you mean? There's literally a whole ass fucking like deep. What do you call deepness then? Deepness is full of those fucking worms. What do you mean there's no more worms? Maybe it's like a different type of worms, but like, what?
Another more mysterious property of worms was that they had some kind of prescience or foresight. Basically, they could see the future to some capacity. It isn't clear how effective this ability was. Considering how the entire race went extinct, this foresight ability must have been pretty shit. Getting back to this particular worm carcass, it is explained that this worm traveled across the distant mountains and wastelands beyond Hallownest. Once it arrived in Hallownest...
By the way, sorry, Offie, if you get an ad, you know, if you get any advertisement or whatever, tell me so I can like pause and stuff, you know. But yeah.
The worm died. Except not really. Inside the maw of the carcass sits a pale broken egg, out of which hatched a new form of worm, a being of meager shell. This form of the worm is usually referred to as the Pale King, and he's the character basically responsible for everything that happens in Hollow Knight.
How do they attest to that though? Is there like any proof of that? Because we you know,
The Pale King is a higher being, a type of creature that exists above all others. His body was said to shine with a radiant visage that harmed those who looked upon him. The ultimate goal of the Pale King seemed to be in line with that of other worms. A line from the cryptic Mr. Mushroom reads, "Worms pull bugs into their thrall, till ages pass and kingdoms fall." In other words, it's just in their nature. Dogs wag their tails, cats bury their shit, and worms bring massive amounts of bugs into their service in order to form long-standing kingdoms and civilizations. And here in a far corner of the world, the Pale King emerged from the corpse of his former self and began to build his eternal kingdom, Hallownest. There's this one slight problem. There's like people already living there. The area that would eventually become Hallownest.
Whoa, that's sick. Is that an official or is it like a fan art? That's fucking dope. Hold on, let me observe this. Oh, that's so cool. Like in full color, full illustration. The Crystal Peak. Dirtmouth King's Pass. They don't have the Grim Troop stuff, but it's fine. Glade of Hope. Grey Mansion. Ah, that's super cool. I don't know, this is super cool. Alright.
Was already filled with mantises, bees, moths, spiders, mushrooms, and bush cosplayers. Each of these groups were already operating with their own cultures and societies, and each group had a different interaction with the Pale King. One of the more receptive groups to the arrival of the Pale King were the mushrooms of the fungal wastes. These creatures were able to communicate with one another through one shared mind. The mushrooms viewed this shared mind as a strength, and they were kind of smug dickheads about it. Ultimately, the mushrooms wearily accepted the Pale King's rule, viewing his foresight as a shield to the dangers of the future. Another group...
Never mind. I was like kind of confused with what they... Because like, yeah, it's a hive mind because mushrooms are like the mycelium. Like how they're like a giant like uniform organism and stuff. Like a real thing. It is probably... I heard something, or like, I don't know if it's true. But I like mushrooms. So I'm like to my own suggestion. It's fine. Look, we're only at the beginning. 7. It's 7 minutes in. It's okay. It's like mushrooms. Like I've heard, there's like every single mushroom in the world is connected into one giant like mushroom. Like it's the entire planet is like all the mushrooms on the planet are one. There's actually only one mushroom. All of them are like descends like all like tendrils of like one mushroom. You know what I'm saying? And what have you seen for now in the vid? Just the intro, to be honest, and how basically the Pale King has been born from a worm, apparently. But yeah.
Living in the fungal wastes is the Mantis tribe. The Mantises have a rich cultural history reaching back to long before the birth of Hallownest. The Mantises are a proud tribe, believing in the importance of proving one's physical strength. The Mantises are fiercely territorial, but will show respect to those who display great power. These Fight Club enthusiasts were led by 4 powerful Mantis Lords, who I guess just kind of sat around waiting for outsiders to challenge them. The Mantis tribe had no interest in the Pale King's kingdom, but the two communities did come to a truce. In exchange for their independence from Hallownest, the Mantis tribe kept the beasts
We'll come back by the way. I forgot to, yeah.
of Deep Nest from invading Hallownest. Not sure why they didn't just go out the other exits from Deep Nest, but whatever. I'm not an expert on Border Patrol. I don't work at ICE anymore. Let's move on to Deep Nest. Now, many of the different tribes of Hallownest were kind enough to leave lore tablets behind, detailing pretty much everything we need to know about them. Unfortunately, the bugs of Deep Nest didn't do that. We know that the spiders of Deep Nest had a monarchy because why not? Those are always good, right?
Okay.
Also, within Deep Nest are a separate group of spiders that immigrated to Deep Nest at some point in the past. This group was known as the Weavers, and they established their own culture and history within Deep
Wait. What? What?
Deep Nest. They used looms of silk to weave stories, spells, and shields. One thing we know for sure about Deep Nest is that they really didn't want anything to do with Hallownest. The struggles of Deep Nest Hallownest relations would become painfully clear as time goes on, but for right now, it seems like the two remained fairly isolated from one another. Another section of pre-Hallownest includes Green Path. Now, as far as we can tell, the mushrooms, mantises, and spiders of Deep Nest didn't worship any higher beings. There is this giant mushroom corpse in the fungal core, but I don't think this is a higher being. I mean, who the hell would want to worship a
I mean, it's not a corpse, is it? It's just the core. It's not a corpse, it's a core of like all the mushrooms. That's how I perceived it. It doesn't feel dead at all. It's just like, you know what I'm saying? Love whatever is wrong with it. And yeah, Gianni Matragano. It's isn't it like a voice actor guy? It's popular. Yeah, I don't watch him.
badass mushroom? Fat ass slugs? Now that's dope. The land we know as Green Path was created by the higher being known as Un. Un used her great mind.
No, it's Un. It's what the fuck just happened? It's clearly Un. Why the fuck you say Un? It's Un. It's so much more like mystical. See, you know, the shrine of Un, not Un. An. Come on, man. Pronounce it right. Come on.
To dream the vegetation of Green Path into the once barren caverns. Un's followers, the Mosskin, were also born out of Un's dream, making her their creator. Green Path at its height was actually much larger than we see in game. At one point, Green Path stretched into both modern-day Queen's Garden and possibly Fog Canyon. Green Path citizens showed themselves to be a fairly developed society. They built a temple at the Lake of Un in order to worship her, and they even had their own line of defense, with Moss Knights showing proficiency in combat, using nails and shells as weapons. The Law of Un continued to remain in effect even after the Pale King arrived, but it seems like they allowed the king to establish a road through their lands, leading travelers to the heart of Hallownest. Hence the name Green Path. Yeah, Team Cherry really racked their brains when naming this area, didn't they?
Chill out, man. It's a cool
we
name.
have the bees. And while
Yes, V for many things among one character from the Ultra Kill, hence why I know him. Ah, Ultra Kill. We talked about this before. It is on the wish list.
there is no lore on how these bees can turn into fucking drills, or how they can ignore all known laws of aviation. We do know how they reacted to the Pale King. These bugs decided to seal their hive off from the rest of the world, with only patrol bees being able to enter and exit the hive. So yeah, the bees are pretty much pointless in this story. And finally we have the
No, they're chilling. Maybe they're the only reason Green Path is green, bro. You forget bees are essential for flora and fauna and like to thrive. No bees, no plants, bro. Just saying. So as if yourself you don't have any deviations, yeah. And fuck you. Okay.
Moth tribe. In-game, the only moth settlement is in the resting grounds, but the tribe might have also inhabited the Crystal Peak at one point. Now, as we all know, moths in real life are just complete assholes.
Really?
As for the moths in Hollow Knight, well, it's a bit complicated. The moth race is described as being a rather pacifist group, with few ever choosing to take up a weapon. During the Pale King's reign, the moth race delved amongst dreams and the dead, displaying the importance of remembering those who have passed, as well as learning how to shape dreams themselves. Similar to the Mosskin, the moth tribe was born from a higher being, known as the Radiance.
Oh my god, the statue was the Radiance all along! Oh, dude, I just realized, I just remember it was on top of the Crystal Peak. That's literally the Radiance! Does anything happen when you beat the Radiance? To this like thing? Okay.
The Radiance is described as being a light in which the moth tribe basked, so she was basically a giant lamp to them.
Yeah.
Another important aspect about the Radiance is her ties to dreams and a substance known as essence. Essence are the remains of wishes and
Shit.
dreams, and are represented in-game by these Dreamcatcher particle effects. Essence can take the form of whispering roots.
It's not Dreamcatcher. Dreamcatchers are, I mean, kind of. Okay, right, fair. But I call them mandalas because it's cooler.
As well as dream ghosts, both of which are memories taking root in the world. The Radiance appears to be a creature made of essence, but she isn't the only higher being to give off essence. Un has green particles, the Pale King has gray particles, and this sexy character named Grim gives off fiery red particles.
I agree with this statement. He is indeed very handsome. Yeah, remember light. Yeah, I mean, that's not a lot of lore, but fair.
However, the Radiance appears to be the main god when it comes to dreams, even if other gods also dabble in the dream realm. Getting back to the Moth tribe, it is their interaction with the Pale King that we need to discuss. Basically, the Moths turned their backs on the Radiance completely in order to worship the new light that had appeared, the Pale King's light. So yeah, Moths are assholes in this game too.
Mods? Wait, what do you mean?
Pale King's light. So yeah, Moths are assholes in this game too.
Malls. What do you mean malls? I don't get. What do you spell your term for the Dreamcatcher particles? There's first this one, the bicycle. Then there's the mandala. Like moths. Okay.
Too. Pale King's light. So yeah, Moths are assholes in this game too. With her tribe forsaking her, the Radiance became a forgotten memory, a remnant of the past, and a thing that's definitely not going to come up again later in this video. And so the Pale King's new kingdom was established, Hallownest. But there is one aspect of Hallownest that we need to discuss. Unfortunately...
But I thought they collaborated, like the Pale King and the Radiance. When I think about it, no, because he tried to seal whatever the Radiance was emitting. I think the Radiance was the infection, from what I gathered, which is not really the same color, so it's kind of weird and off-putting. But the Pale King did all the horrible bullshit he did, genuinely despicable crimes against humanity, or I mean crimes against arthropods. I don't know, like in order to like make the vessel to contain, you know, the Radiance like power and shit. So I guess they weren't really on the same side, are they? Markoth is a moth, hence why he showed him while saying that. Yeah.
To better understand this, we're going to have to read some poetry. In wilds beyond they speak your name with reverence and regret. For none could tame our savage souls, yet you the challenge met. Under palest watch you taught, we changed. Base instincts were redeemed. A world you gave to bug and beast as they had never dreamed. This is from a poem titled Elegy for Hallownest, written by Modamon the Teacher. The poem appears at the beginning of every playthrough, and hints at what the Pale King and his kingdom offered. Much of the land outside of Hallownest appears to be a wasteland, where bugs survive off of instinct without the burden of...
I'm just giving my head canons first, what I believe to be true, before it happens, you know, and then seeing what's actually happened. At least in his interpretation, which like, you know, but yeah, just like, yeah.
Mind. Hallownest somehow taught these bugs and tamed their savagery. Basically, the Pale King changed the instincts of his subjects and granted them higher thought. To get a better picture of this, let's look at two different characters, Boone and Tuck. These adorable panda bug things give us a clear display of Hallownest's effect. While both appear to be the same species of bug, Boone is dumb as a sack of rocks, struggling to string together words, while Tuck speaks fairly clearly. The main difference between these two characters is that while Boone lives outside of Hallownest, Tuck lives beneath the city's capital. Basically, it appears as though Hallownest is a literal holy ground that raises the intelligence of those who dwell within. The Pale King established a path, starting from the kingdom's entrance in King's Pass, winding through Greenpath and the fungal wastes, and finally ending at the massive capital at Hallownest's heart. We now know the capital city as the City of Tears, but that was likely not its original name. The rain that falls down onto the city from the blue lake above didn't begin until after the kingdom collapsed. So unless the capital was originally named by some edgy literature student, the name City of Tears wouldn't have made much sense. The king's motivation for all this appears to have been his desire to be worshipped. The citizens of Hallownest believe that the Pale King created the world and everything in it. Shrines to the king can be found scattered throughout the kingdom, and king's idols were created and distributed to followers of the king. Despite the worship, the Pale King often kept himself hidden from his subjects, possibly to hide his blemishes. I mean, if you look at the size of the real Pale King to his statue in the ancient basin, the man is clearly overcompensating. The Pale King's White Palace was also built underneath the city, separating him from his subjects even more so. At the same time, certain powers became shunned in Hallownest, though we don't know for sure if the Pale King had anything to do with this. Lifeblood is a blue liquidy substance that leaves those who drink it feeling refreshed. However, the use of lifeblood was seen as a taboo, and those who used it were demonized as heretics.
Really?
The use of soul for combat was also shunned. Soul is a sort of life force in Hollow Knight that animates the bodies of living creatures. But some characters are able to control the soul of others to conjure powerful spirits. But aside from a few exceptions, no citizens of Halnest ever used this power. However, the Pale King didn't rule alone. There was another higher being in the mix, a being known as the White Lady.
Yeah.
The White Lady is a weird brute-like being that can be...
What the fuck was her deal though? Like, I actually, like, because I genuinely don't know. Like, she talked like in, like, I don't know. I just didn't get it. It was just like a kind being, but that was about it, you know what I'm saying?
found in the modern-day Queen's Gardens. She is encased in a strange cocoon, and we know very little about her. With as much exposition we get for the Pale King, there is next to nothing on the White Lady. But one thing we do know is that she likes to breed. Like, a lot.
What?
The White Lady would often retreat to the Queen's Gardens, an area of land once controlled by the Mosskin. How exactly she walked around and actually went places is a lore question too deep for even my expertise. The White Lady is also known as a pale being, along with the Pale King. What exactly are pale beings? Well, we don't know for sure, but they seem to stand out even amongst higher beings, as being even more powerful. I know that's a little confusing, so let's try using an example. I'd say that regular higher beings are like a TP-Link Archer C7 AC1750 wireless dual-band gigabit router, while pale beings are like the Asus RT-AX88U AX6000 dual-band 8X gigabit Wi-Fi router.
Wait, there's like 8, wait, okay, that's news to me. There's Asus routers? I thought it was only, okay, for now let's just say you've seen the consequences of her breeding habit. Okay. You just spoiled it for me. Because now I figured it out. Like all of these like right. Yeah, right.
Under the Pale King, Halnest underwent a bit of an industrial revolution. He ordered the construction of the stagways, which were used to transport passengers and goods. The Forgotten Crossroads and the storerooms above the City of Tears were used to store goods that traveled along these stagways. The king also ordered the construction of the tramways, because literally no one is safe from the threat of automation. A tram was built between the Forgotten Crossroads and the Resting Grounds. A second tram was built from the Kingdom's Edge across the ancient basin over to Deep Nest. And then a third tram was started in Deep Nest and attempted to go further into Deep Nest. Not sure how useful that would have been to the bugs of Halonest, but whatever.
Yeah.
The Pale King's a smart guy. I'm not gonna question him. But anyway, the Pale King's super smart plan to build a tram in Deep Nest ended up getting a few of his tram workers killed. The bugs of Deep Nest rejected the Pale King's attempt to build a tram in their territory, further cementing the poor relations shared between the two groups.
Yeah, no shit.
Aside from convenient fast travel, regular pathways were also used to cart goods around the kingdom. From this was born probably one of the most important groups in Halonest, and perhaps even all of fiction. An elusive guild of bugs, simply known as the Menderbugs, took to maintaining the various signs scattered throughout Halonest. From the journal entry of one Menderbug, we can catch a glimpse into their ancient and unknowable minds.
Dear, dear diary, isn't life just the most beautiful thing? Fixing signs, mending posts, let them break, I say. I'm a better mender for all that repairing. I sometimes doubt there's a single
It is a lore explanation, actually. And what I'd never heard, I mean, I don't read, okay. I have no awareness of this, but like, I guess there's like a lore explanation to like how every time you like leave a room and stuff, and like everything you break is like always like fixed back up. They fix it behind your back. All right.
And all of Halonest happier than me.
Another example of the Pale King's expanding infrastructure is the Crystal Peak. This area is filled with crystals that grow rapidly along walls, ceilings, and even the shells of certain bugs. These crystals were considered valuable to the bugs of Halonest, resulting in large-scale mining efforts. We don't actually see the crystals used anywhere else in Halonest, but they are said to contain a sort of energy. The crystals are also said to sing, if you listen very carefully.
Fuck you.
In terms of military, Halonest's first line of defense appeared to be a group simply known as the Five Great Knights. The members of this esteemed coalition were Ogrim, Hagamol, Zamir, Drya,
Wait, 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 wait.
Coalition were Ogrim,
That's Ogrim.
Hagamol, Zamir,
Wait, that was a. But I thought she was an outsider though.
Drya,
Uh-huh.
and Isma.
Isma, alright.
For being so important, most of the information about these knights has been lost to time. Ogrim is the knight we know the most about, since he is one of the few knights still alive during the events of the game. Ogrim expressed a great amount of loyalty towards the king, and he maybe had something going on with Isma, but we really don't know. Hagamol was known for his sense of humor and his soft-spoken voice, but at the same time, he was also dummy thick. Mysterious Zamir arrived in Halnest from a serene land, bringing with her a collection of delicate flowers.
Yeah, I know, because I remember Isma saying Ogrim or something. And that's it. Like, I remember, like, there was something, like, about that, like, the word Ogrim, and I just realized, like, now I know that Ogrim is the actual Dung Defender.
At some point, she also got into a relationship with a mantis, but not just any mantis, a daughter of one of the mantis lords. So yeah, it seems like these great knights were slaying in more ways than one. All we really know about Drya is that she was fierce, caring, and wise. As for Isma, she was described as being kind. She also appears to be some sort of weird plant life form, but there's no information on where she's from or what her powers were. The five great knights play an important role in the Champion's Call, the Knotted Grove, and the Battle of the Black Worm. We have no idea what these events were or how they affected Halonest, but they sound cool nonetheless. During Halonest's reign, there was another strange area that seemed to exist separate from the Pale King's rule. Carved out of the corpse of an ancient bug, an area called the Colosseum of Fools was constructed, and it was a destination for warriors from outside Halonest. The sole purpose for fighting in the Colosseum appeared to be simply for glory, with a mysterious figure known as the Lord Fool overseeing the combat. We don't know when the Colosseum was constructed or if the Pale King was involved, but one of his servants, the Pale Lurker, became a champion in the Colosseum, perhaps indicating the Pale King's approval. And finally, there was the Royal Waterways, where the fecal excrement of the kingdom was washed out into the fungal wastes.
Amazing.
This area saw the rise of a species of parasite-like creatures called the Flukes. The Flukes spawned from the Fluke Marm, a giant monster with cavities in which tinier flukes live. There really isn't too much lore involved with the Flukes, but I do need to point out that the Fluke Marm is canonically a MILF. Like, that's not even debatable.
Shut up.
The sky is blue, 2 + 2 = 4, and we all want to fuck this thing. And so this was the kingdom of Halonest at its height. Halonest was a vast kingdom connected by a network of stagways and tram stations. The bugs of Halonest mourned their dead on the resting grounds, engaged in commerce using Geo, the de facto currency of the region, and a thriving capital located in the middle of the kingdom. The Pale King had succeeded in crafting a full-blown society, but we all know there are pitfalls to living in a society. As a suspiciously knowledgeable hunter points out in his journal, the Pale King had created a population of weak and
What the fuck is that? Is that the hunter?
Out in his journal, the Pale King had created a population of weak and pathetic creatures. The bugs of Halonest did not hunt for their own food and had become complacent with their comfort. This is even more obvious with the east wing of the capital. These greedy members of Halonest's high society became complete cowards, obsessed with riches and plum from excess wealth. The bugs living in Halonest's prime looked quite different than the instinctive simpletons they once were. Their savagery had been replaced with intelligence, and through that intellect, they gave the Pale King the devotion and service he desired. And while there were a few snags along the way, they were shining times for the king and his subjects. Resting at the threshold of Halonest is a strange lore tablet, proclaiming Halonest to be the last and only civilization. It calls Halonest an eternal kingdom. This appears to have been the Pale King's goal, for Halonest to stand against a wasted world as a final beacon for civilization. And that was the Pale King's ultimate folly, to think that he could succeed where so many others had failed before. Long before the Pale Kings or the...
Didn't he though? Why does it keep doing that? Fuck off. Didn't he though? Because even if... I guess if that was his goal, and like the world truly is, you know, like truly, how do I say this? If the world was, I can't find the words. Yeah, like how do I say it? English. Like if that was his goal, and like the world really is a wasteland, that like everything is dead, it's a full apocalypse type stuff. Like I feel like it's. I guess I understand why he came to do the horrible shit he did. So I mean, I guess it's like this was the last bastion of like sentience, of life. So like sacrificing that many lives, I guess I can understand the motivation behind that sacrifice. And in the end, it kind of worked until us, Louis, Mr. Hollow Knight, I mean, not really, wait, yeah, Louis, came in and just like helped like actually like defeating the issues that were like plaguing it. Like this eternal kingdom. So in a way, he kind of achieved his objective in some way or form. You know what I'm saying? It's much more understandable now.
Barry Benson's of the world. The land of Hallownest was controlled by an ancient caste. Hints of Hallownest history are littered throughout the land, with the most notable examples being the soul totems and arcane eggs. One sect of these ancient bugs didn't worship a god like the Pale King or any lord, but instead a dark and mysterious substance known as the Void.
Ooh.
This ancient caste once also tried to lay claim to the entire land of Hallownest, but they too failed. In his quest to conquer all of Hallownest, the Pale King had made an enemy long forgotten, an enemy that was about to be remembered. I mentioned earlier that the Moth tribe entirely forgot about the Radiance in order to worship the Pale King, but that isn't quite true. Memories of her still lingered, and hushed whispers of faith kept the Radiance alive. At the summit of the Crystal Peak, a location known as Hallownest Crown, a strange collection of glyphs can be found. Joining these glyphs is a statue of the Radiance, presiding over the kingdom below. This old summit is the sole standing shrine left to the Radiance. This was built in order to keep the memory of the Radiance alive. The Radiance's light began to appear in the dreams of Hallownest citizens. This light manifested itself in an infection that ravaged through the kingdom's tunnels. Those infected would fall
So it is related. So it is the source.
into a deep sleep and awaken with broken minds. Some of the lesser bugs tried to resist the Radiance's light, which only resulted in them being consumed by it even more so. Many infected bugs lost their wills and began attacking bugs that weren't infected. The infection also twisted the bodies of its hosts, causing them to bloat and occasionally develop orange cysts on their bodies. For many victims, they were reverted back to their basic instincts, carrying out the duties they once fulfilled in life, but now as mindless slaves. Those caught up in the infection were linked into the Radiant.
How though? Like how does that work? Like why did they do that though? Like how does the Radiance like power light, whatever the fuck? How does that even like work? Like how does the light, the Radiance, create this like orange like infection and like manipulate people into like
hive mind, allowing her to control their bodies if needed. As the infection spread across Hallownest, many groups looked to solutions to fight off the Radiance's light. The gates to the City of Tears were closed in an attempt to keep the infection from reaching the city. The stagways were also shut down at some point, and many of the stags eventually died out, but some took more proactive efforts against the infection. The scholars of the Soul Sanctum decided to harness the power of Soul in an attempt to fight the infection. This resulted in the deaths of hundreds of bugs, whose souls were sucked out and injected into the bodies of the scholars. Their goal was to achieve some kind of pure focus, which would somehow protect them from plagues of the mind. The scholars' leader, the Soul Master, was driven mad by the sheer power of Soul, and his entire sect failed to avoid infection. But hey, at least they took as many innocent people down with them as they could. The Mantis tribe, showing a stronger will than the common bug, were able to stave off the infection. However, one of the 4 Mantis Lords turned against his sisters. He and his followers took in the infection willingly, as it gave them more strength and courage. At some point during all this, the Traitor Lord and his followers were exiled from the Mantis village, eventually taking up residence in the Queen's Gardens. The Traitor Lord's daughter ended up dying at some point. This is the same mantis that was in a relationship with Zamir, one of the 5 great knights. But the mantises rejected their union because of Zamir's outsideness. As a gamer, this type of prejudice is all too familiar, and honestly, it makes me sick. With the 5 great knights completely useless to fight against the infection, the Pale King devised his own scheme. A scheme involving a strange substance known as Void. As I mentioned earlier, the Pale King's White Palace was built in an area called the Ancient Basin. But his castle wasn't the only noteworthy thing down there. At the bottom of the Ancient Basin was the entrance to a pit, known as the Abyss. Within the Abyss was a lake composed of void. The Pale King realized that this void could be given form, as evidenced by an imprint of such, deep within the Abyss, possibly left there by the ancient civilization that predated Halonest. The Pale King devised a workshop in his palace, where he placed void in armor shells imbued with soul, creating
it makes sense. Okay. Okay. I'm connecting the dots now. They were just like people like Louis, along with like other like siblings like us and like the Hollow Knight and all of that jazz. We're all like, void, made of void. We're like literally void heart. We're just like compacted into like, we were like, they were giving like life through like at their containers, and that's why you become a shade and stuff. That's why you become the siblings and stuff. Okay.
It's known as King's Molds and Wing Molds. These void creatures were somehow imprinted with the desire of the Pale King,
And that's the collector.
so that they would serve him. It isn't clear when the Pale King started making these creatures. There is evidence to imply that even common bugs were aware of King's Molds. But the point is, the Pale King turned to the void in order to create another creature, one that he believed could
Okay. Okay, fine.
contain the Radiance and her infection. He tried to create a pure vessel. The Radiance's infection needs its host to have a will and a mind in order to enslave it. A pure vessel would be a creature made of void designed to lack those features. The Pale King believed that by harnessing the void inside a pure vessel, he would be able to stop the infection and keep Halonest lasting eternal. But his method for creating this so-called
And that's maybe the lore to the broken vessel. He was a test that came close but was broken by the infection. He wasn't compatible enough, and he succumbed to the infection.
pure vessel was incredibly cruel. This is where the White Lady and her King Kong-sized libido come into play. These two higher beings engaged in a union of some kind, resulting in the creation of several eggs that were dropped down into the abyss. There come into play. These two higher beings engaged in a union of some kind, resulting in the creation of several eggs that were dropped down into the abyss. There, the void seeped into these eggs, corrupting the offspring of the Pale King and the White Lady. This act resulted in the creation of the vessels. The vessels are not technically considered to be alive. They are shells created from the Pale King and White Lady that have been filled with the void. Within each vessel is a shade, a completely void being hidden behind the face of the vessel. Vessels are also non-gendered, I guess because they're dead or something. I'm not sure if that's how that works, but whatever.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on these kinds of things. I don't work at ICE anymore. Thousands of vessels were created during this process, but only one was chosen as the pure vessel.
Yeah.
This particular vessel, chosen by the Pale King, was deemed the Hollow Knight,
Yeah.
and was taken away to the White Palace. But I want to take a bit of a closer look at this part of the story. There are a number of questions and theories surrounding this moment that I really want to dig into.
Yeah, and what I believe this moment to be was basically the Hollow Knight. He was taken like as the purest like vessel. Like he had no like emotions, no nothing and stuff. It was like the perfect thing, like, and that the Pale King like believed it to be, and we were like only an incomplete version, And then, turns out he wasn't as perfect as they once thought, and he just, was eventually like just he wielded like the infection. He was containing it. He was enslaving the infection within himself, but it just took a toll over time, and it just turns out that he actually wasn't a pure vessel, and he just like wanted to fucking kill himself during the fight and shit, because yeah, he did like he wasn't in a hollow. There was no such thing as that, and we were then rebirthed. I guess when we came back somehow. I do not know how exactly. Maybe we're just like woke up or some shit, just like from a big slumber, but we just came back and now we went to do the job. But yeah, that's my idea of it. Yeah, let's see what's actually happened.
Question surrounding this moment is, why was the Hollow Knight chosen over any other vessel? One common theory is that the Pale King took these vessels back to the White Palace and evaluated them using his giant collection of buzzsaws. This theory is probably the least likely explanation. It kinda exists just to explain the buzzsaws, which is quite the mystery, I'll admit, but doesn't really mesh with the vessels very well. How does being good at Super Meat Boy prove that you are a worthy vessel? And while thinking about
Okay, he makes a good point.
logistics in a game about magic bugs is never a good idea, how exactly did the Pale King transfer these thousands of vessels to his palace without characters like the Dung Defender finding out? So this means that the Pale King probably made his decision without taking any of the vessels out of the Abyss. So how did the Pale King make his evaluation? I think the best explanation comes from a theory I originally heard from a user named Golden Flower Fan. Basically,
that person is an Undertale fan. 100%. And they love Flowey, and they were in the Flowey fan club. Just like
vessels were hatched down at the bottom of the Abyss, and the first one to make it. Basically, the vessels were hatched down at the bottom of the Abyss, and the first one to make it to the top was chosen by the Pale King. In a memory of this event, we see vessels falling from above back down into the pit of the Abyss. Perhaps these vessels weren't being cast down into the Abyss, but fell while trying to escape out of it. The lore tablet outside the Abyss appears to support this theory. It reads, "Our pure vessel has ascended. Beyond lies only the refuse and regret of its creation. We shall enter that place no longer." This tablet was likely written right after the Hollow Knight.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah, that would explain how, yeah. But then why would like you being able to climb, like faster would mean that you're hollower, like that you're a pure vessel? It's just like being good at parkour. Then it validates the whole idea of like, why, well, the buzzsaw explanation doesn't make any sense. If you literally, it literally uses the same reasoning here. You know what I'm saying? It's just a test of strength, of agility. What does that have to do with anything? So, is it really is this really the case though?
Knight was chosen, considering that is when the entrance to the Abyss was sealed off. The tablet proclaims that the pure vessel has ascended, or in other words, climbed out of the Abyss. And while cut content should never be considered canon, I would just like to point out that an earlier version of this tablet, found in the game's code, was even more explicit about this. It read, "From below, our pure vessel has ascended." But how does making it to the top of the Abyss first prove that the Hollow Knight is somehow a perfectly hollow vessel?
There we go, exactly.
Well, I think this whole concept might just be a misconception. What if the Hollow Knight wasn't any different from the other vessels? All the vessels were made in the exact same way after all. The idea that the Hollow Knight was somehow more hollow than the other vessels comes from the fact that there were so many vessels created in the first place. If they only needed one, then why create so goddamn many?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like Octomom on steroids.
Here's Waldo for them.
Well, these are bugs we're talking about, so it would make sense that multiple offspring would come from one egg. And it might have been a precaution to produce multiple vessels in hopes that at least one would be able to successfully escape the Abyss.
True.
Now another explanation could be that the Pale King just yeeted other vessels that made it to the top first, after determining that they weren't hollow, which
True.
would better explain why so many were created. Ultimately, the exact details aren't super important, but I do find it interesting.
They kinda are though. They're like pretty important. Like it's the whole ass fucking founding massacre of this whole fucking like story. You're saying it's not too important. What do you mean?
How many different interpretations can be pulled from this part of the lore. After the Hollow Knight was chosen, the Pale King sealed the doorway to the Abyss, leaving the discarded vessels to rot away in darkness. These actions were not taken lightly by the Pale King or the White Lady. Both participants expressed shame in what they did, but saw no other option to save the kingdom. But the vessels weren't the only poor saps sealed away in the Abyss. There's also a lighthouse that was built on top of a naturally formed spire, its light shining down on an ocean of abyss below. Inside was one of the Pale King's royal retainers, who was left in charge of keeping the lighthouse turned on. So this brave soul was willingly sealed in a dark and dangerous tomb for the rest of his life, just so he could not pull a lever. Well, at least he was living with purpose. With the Abyss sealed and the Hollow Knight chosen, the Pale King's plan was beginning to come together. The Hollow Knight was raised and trained to prime form, causing it to grow several times its original size. We don't know exactly why this happened, but I guess the Hollow Knight is just a grower and not a shower. We know that the Hollow Knight was trained to use a nail, but why was this even necessary? One possible explanation is that the Hollow Knight needed to protect itself in case an intruder tried to kill it.
True.
You know, like the player. Or perhaps this was important in the process of containing the Radiance. Unfortunately, the details of that are never fully explained. The Hollow Knight might have somehow focused the Radiance inside itself, but Team Cherry gives us no explanation of how that might have worked. But that still wasn't enough for the Pale King. Additional seals were needed in order to protect the Hollow Knight's physical body while the Radiance was trapped inside of it. To achieve this, the Pale King sought the help of 3 particular bugs, who would later be known as the Dreamers: Lurien the Watcher, Motomon the Teacher, and Hera the Beast. Lurien is definitely the most mysterious of the 3 Dreamers. He lived in the Watcher's Spire in the City of Tears. From there, Lurien watched over the city with his telescope. Lurien was a pretty big fan of the king, so it probably took little convincing for him to lie down for him. Lurien might also be tied to another strange incident that occurred in the City of Tears. Hidden on some of Lurien's lore tablets are images of jars, the same jars that can be found
The Collector.
stockpiled in the Tower of Love. This building sits on the outskirts of the city, and is the setting of one of the most bizarre bosses in the game, the Collector.
Yeah.
The Collector is a void construct that appears to have been made from the same mold used to create the King's molds. But the Collector is unique because, well,
Good grief, he's naked!
The Collector stayed in the Tower of Love with a noble bug who likely owned the establishment. In the tower, a number of bugs can be found captured in jars, implying that these two were tasked with collecting these creatures. However, the Collector somehow became obsessed with grubs, creating a map to keep track of grubs it captured in jars, as well as keeping a strange shrine displaying a grub in the style of the Vitruvian Man. Eventually, the bug staying with the Collector decided to lock it inside the Tower of Love, and fled to the Queen's Gardens, where it died, likely due to overexposure to the void. Despite being locked up in the tower, the Collector is still spotted by the Hunter at some point, which either
Where
means
does this image of the hunter comes from, though? Like, we never saw this. This is something that happens when you actually talk to him after completing your journal or something. Just something I should have done, but maybe I should have talked to him after like completing all my shit. After my entire journal.
this only
but
happened
whatever.
recently, or the Hunter has been farting around in Hallownest for a long ass time. We have no idea what these creatures were trying to do. It's implied that the Collector was trying to preserve the creatures of Hallownest, perhaps trying to protect them from the spread of the infection, but we don't know where the Collector's obsession with grubs originated, and while Lurien does seem connected to all of this, we don't know how involved he was with this operation, or what its end goal exactly was. Motomon the Teacher lived in the Teacher's Archives, a library built atop a lake of acid in the Fog Canyon. The lower half of her body consists of tentacles, making her a popular subject for the thriving Hollow Knight R34 community.
Something
The
you have
archives
mentioned in
from
the
Fog
past,
Canyon
which is
as a
unfortunate.
whole are also filled with these strange Metroid knockoffs. These creatures are likely related to Monomon in some way. They could be her live offspring, her test tube babies, or possibly even her shit. Motomon uses futuristic cathode ray tube things to store information about Halonest. Several terminals in the teacher's archive go into detail about the Pale King's plan to defeat the Radiants, indicating that Motomon had intimate knowledge of what she was taking part in. Finally, the Pale King sought the help of Hera the Beast, the Queen of Deep Nest. Now, as I mentioned earlier, relations between Halonest and Deep Nest were kinda...
Yeah, how did they do that?
not great.
How do you do that?
Unlike the other two dreamers, Hera needed to be convinced in order to help the Pale King. Hera would eventually agree to become a dreamer, in exchange for a child. The Pale King agreed, and the two engaged in a dalliance, which is a fancy way of saying they totally boned.
Okay.
The White Lady was okay with this arrangement. In fact, she might have been watching from the closet. The motive
Dude.
behind
Stop! You don't need to say all that. Okay.
Hera's request is never elaborated on, but it appears as though the King of Deep Nest was dead at this point. Hera was a common bug, so perhaps she desired the Pale King's pale seed so that her child could be of high birth. The bargain between Hera and the Pale King resulted in the birth of Hornet.
Oh shit! Really? Really? How do we know that? What?
She became known as the gendered child because, unlike the Pale King's other children, Hornet was not hollowed out by the Abyss. Hera and Hornet spent little time together, as Hera had to make good on her end of the bargain. And so the three dreamers were put to rest. Through their actions, a seal was
Wait, I need more lore on this. Tell me more about Hornet. But what? That's like insane info.
placed over the Black Egg, prohibiting entrance into the chamber. These dreamers also had their own protection. At the base of Lurian's spire, the Watcher Knights guarded access to their master's body. Motomon's body was protected by a giant jellyfish named Umu. On top of this, Motomon entrusted her servant Quirrell with a mask which would be required to break an additional seal she had placed over herself. So she basically is double wrapping herself. As for Hera, we're not really sure what protected her, since it is never actually seen in-game. We don't know where this creature is hiding, but whoever it is, they really suck at their job. Now there appears to be one more element to the Pale King's plan, involving the Weavers. Hidden away in the Weaver's den is an incomplete seal of binding.
And then kill Hera. Hornet appears next to her and has a dream nail dialogue involving the word mother. Ooh.
Woven from silk. This design is an incomplete plan involving the Weavers. Hidden away in the Weaver's den is an incomplete seal of binding, woven from silk. This design prominently features the Hollow Knight's head, and can be found in the White Palace, as well as blocking the exit during the Hollow Knight fight.
Silk, you say? Silk, you say?
Silk spools created by the Weavers can be found in the Stag Station in Deep Nest, as well as the Stag Station next to the White Palace. These spools can also be found in the Pale King's workshop. We know that the Weavers were closely tied to Hera and Hornet, so their actions might have been a part of the deal between the Pale King and Hera. Once the Hollow Knight was ready, the Radiance was somehow channeled into the vessel, which was then placed inside of a giant black egg located in the Forgotten Crossroads. This egg was built to sustain the Hollow Knight, and itself appears to be fashioned from void. The Hollow Knight was chained up, and the entrance to the black egg was locked behind a powerful seal created by the three dreamers. Initially, this convoluted plan actually worked, and the infection was successfully contained. Memorials to the Hollow Knight and the Dreamers were erected in the City of Tears and the Resting Grounds. But this is the part of the story where things get a little bit hazy. By the time these statues were constructed, citizens had taken to writing on parchment woven from spider silk, which was all destroyed when water started pouring down onto the city. We don't know how long the Hollow Knight was able to completely contain the infection. Bugs from Dirtmouth used to go to the Temple of the Black Egg to pray, saying they felt at peace within the walls. But after a while, they stopped going, perhaps indicating that the infection was beginning to leak out again. The infectious air continued to seep through Halonest for years, eventually even reaching the deepest parts of the kingdom. As it turns out, The Pale King's pure vessel wasn't quite so pure after all.
Yeah.
The Hollow Knight had been tarnished by an idea instilled. While the game never explicitly tells us what that idea was, it does hint strongly at what it might be. Hidden away in the White Palace is a memory showing the Hollow Knight and the Pale King sharing a moment. The Hollow Knight might have developed a parental bond to the Pale King, and who could blame it? The Pale King is a pretty great dad after all. You know, if you ignore the infanticide and everything. Remember those smug mushroom dickheads? Well, it turns out their trust in the Pale King was a complete mistake. That shared mind isn't looking too good now, is it? In the fungal core, the corpse of a giant mushroom lies dormant. Its final thoughts were, "Pale worm, what good to see a demise unavoidable?" This could imply that the Pale King always knew that his kingdom was doomed. All he could do was delay the inevitable. This is likely the moment when Hallownest, as it once was, entirely collapsed. The Hollow Knight had not completely stopped the infection, and while it may have taken a while, Hallownest was eventually brought low. It's at this point that characters and areas begin to resemble as we know them in-game. When it became clear that the Hollow Knight was not able to contain the Radiance, the Pale King resorted to his final plan. He fucked off, hiding himself, his White Palace, and his Pale Court in the Dream World. At this point, all of the furniture in the palace was covered under white sheets, similar to how people in the real world cover their furniture while away on long trips. The palace was also completely covered with thorns and buzzsaws, similar to how people in the real world cover their houses with thorns and buzzsaws.
Absolutely.
The Pale King would eventually pass away while sitting on his throne in the White Palace. There's no confirmation on what killed him, but there are a few things to consider. The throne room is incredibly dark compared to the rest of the palace, and the particle effects and ambient track in this room are identical to that of the Abyss. All of the king's molds surrounding the Pale King are dead. The ancient basin itself also has become stained with the presence of void, as it can be seen as high as the rundown elevator shaft leading back to the city. Remember that bug that was sealed away in the Abyss to make sure the lighthouse wasn't turned off?
Yeah.
Well, the lighthouse was turned off. I guess that whole living with purpose thing is a crock of shit after all. It seems as though the Sea of Void itself actually—
Cut him some slack, bro. He fucking died. He cannot live forever. So sure, obviously at some point he was not gonna survive it, you know? But plus he clearly died of void. Look at his eyes. They're full of void.
convinced this bug to betray his king and turn off the lighthouse. Now I know what you're thinking. Exactly how conscious is the Void? Is the Void able to think for itself? Can it form strategies? Does it host a podcast? Well, according to this Chozo statue ripoff, the Void is powerful, but not. Well, can it exactly have a king? It seems as though the Sea of Void itself actually convinced this bug to betray his king and turn off the lighthouse. Now I know what you're thinking. Exactly how conscious is the Void? Is the Void able to think for itself? Can it form strategies? Does it host a podcast? Well, according to this Chozo statue ripoff, the Void is powerful, but not unified. So while it can thrash around at things that come near it, or call out in unison to turn off a light, it's not a single conscious being. Getting back to the Pale King, one could argue that the Void might have played a role in his ultimate demise, and I've argued that viewpoint in the past, but we have to remember that there isn't enough evidence to know for sure. As an expert lawyer and a good friend of mine, Johnny Cochran, once said, "Any evidence that the Void was involved in the Pale King's death is circumstantial. My name is Johnny Cochran." Just above the White Palace, the bugs in the City of Tears weren't faring much better. Even if we ignore the fact that the infection was still around, there were other issues that helped lead to the city's downfall. Due to the gates being sealed, some bugs resorted to cannibalism in order to avoid starvation.
Ew.
And there's also that metric fuckton of corpses lining the walls of the Soul Sanctum. When all was said and done, the only citizen left standing is Eternal Emelita, who just laughs her ass off about it like she's a fucking Dark Souls character. The White Lady ends up in a cocoon deep within the Queen's gardens. She decided to place bindings on herself in order to keep her from spreading her seed. She claims that this is because of the shame she feels in helping the Pale King create the vessels, but honestly, it's probably just her kink. The White Lady also diminished her power, possibly as a way to keep herself hidden from unwanted visitors. Outside her cocoon, Dryas stood guard, protecting her queen from the violent traitor mantises. Dryia is eventually killed off by these bugs, which is actually pretty pathetic if you think about it. I mean, we're talking like the Netgear WPN824N
Back with the router.
N150 wireless router pathetic. Speaking of great knights dying pathetically, let's move on to Hagemul. Hagemul held the city crest, a key used to open one of the gates to the City of Tears. At some point, Hagemul's armor shell was stolen by a maggot. Now, maggots were generally looked down upon and forced to do menial labor. They were incredibly weak, and basically deserved all of the discrimination they got. But this one maggot decided to turn the tide, so he stole Hagemul's shell so that he could defend his downtrodden brothers. His actions weren't motivated by the infection, but instead was the result of how hierarchical caste systems will always lead to revolution from the working class, and that true freedom can only be achieved blah blah blah, capitalism is bad, subscribe to my Patreon. Ogre moved to the Royal Waterways and started living in shit, changing his name to Dung Defender. Now I love wallowing in shit as much as the next guy, but you'd have to really love shit to put up with living with the flukes. The Dung Defender kept an unwavering sense of duty and loyalty to the king, and love for his fellow knights, so much so that he made shit statues of them. How nice. Ogrim acted as the defender of the pipeways, as well as Isma's Grove. A section of the Royal Waterways became filled with acid, and in the middle of it all rests Isma's corpse, which has been overcome by plant life. Isma is likely the one responsible for this acid blight, but we have no idea what happened to her. Hornet's whereabouts during this time are fairly mysterious. We know that she departed Deep Nest and didn't return until the events of the game. At some point, she took to guarding Halnest from intruding warriors, as well as the cast-off shell in the Kingdom's Edge. Despite the Kingdom's woes at large, fortunately this fate did not befall one of the fandom's favorite characters. The Menderbugs continued to fix the broken signs and wayposts of Halnest. From a diary entry, we can see that one Menderbug in particular had found himself on the precipice of a long and loving relationship.
Hello again, diary. Not long now until the next Minder Bash. For us stealthy types, we're a riotous bunch when we get together, and Minderberry kept flashing me that smile. It might be time to muster my courage and act on it. I love my home and my life, but sharing it with another? Why, that'd be the berry on top.
Greenpath also underwent some changes during this time. The Mosskin were waiting for Un's call, which would bring them back into the dream they were originally born from. But for some reason, Un's strength deteriorated. We don't know why this happened exactly. Was it due to the White Lady claiming part of her kingdom?
Probably
Was
old
it somehow
age.
due to the infection? Some Mosskin believe that Un went into hiding, but it appears as though Un is, in fact, calling to her children. But many of the Mosskin are unable to hear her call. Instead, many Mosskin seem to have taken the Radiance's infection into their leaves, which might explain why Greenpath became overgrown with vegetation despite Un's deteriorating powers. Mossy vagabonds even openly chose to forsake Un and worship the Radiance. Another tribe to be screwed over by the Radiance is the Hive, which fell to the infection after the death of their leader, Hive Queen Vespa. But it appears as though this had little effect on—
I would have probably figured that out if I fucking didn't kill those guys, this ghost. Okay, I've been told specifically to not, like, dream nail them, and then by accident, it was an accident, alright? It was an accident.
their civilization. The Radiance's hive mind was already familiar to the bees, since the hive probably operated under something similar already. So in other words, the hive probably made out the best in this whole situation. Let's turn our attention back to the moths. After all, it's their god that keeps killing everybody. Well, the moth tribe didn't fare too well, actually, as pretty much the entire tribe died out. The only known survivor is the
So good on you for clipping that moment, Jack. Yeah.
seer. Despite the loss of her tribe, the seer continued to tend to the graves in the resting grounds, while also waiting the arrival of the wielder, a mysterious being that her tribe has dreamt of for a while. In the Kingdom's Edge, the land became covered in ash molting off of the worm's decomposing corpse. The Colosseum of Fools continued to thrive. The Lord Fool passed away at some point, but nobody really seems to notice or even care. The fools inside the Colosseum were infected, but still seem to have maintained control over themselves. It seems possible that these bugs took in the infection willingly, similar to the Traitor Lord and his followers. This would have given them an edge in combat, similar to using steroids, but without the whole shrinking testicles thing. However, even the Traitor Lord and his followers went mad, so what makes these fools any more special? As for the Pale King's champion, the Pale Lurker, well, she just went the normal kind of insane. There appears to have been another unforeseen event with the Pale King's plan. When the Hollow Knight was originally chosen, the door to the Abyss was sealed, trapping the discarded vessels within. But apparently, some vessels didn't get the memo. Vessel corpses can be found littered throughout the kingdom. There's one in the Ancient Basin, one in Greenpath, and several trapped in Nosk's lair in Deep Nest. Another vessel that escaped from the Abyss is the player character, the Knight. The exact details on how the vessels escaped the Abyss is unclear. There are indications that they might have slipped into Deep Nest through some old passageway, given void influences in part of the area, and all the corpses found in Nosk's lair. At some point, all entrances to Hollow Nest were closed off, with the old well and Earthmouth being the only way to sneak back in. Despite this, several people have wormed their way into the kingdom, with few ever returning. Characters like Relic Seeker Lem seemed content to just pillage artifacts from the ruined kingdom, but other bugs seemed interested in something greater. In the Howling Cliffs rests the corpse of a member of the Grim Troop. The task of this bug appears to have been to seek out Hollow Nest, so that the troop might be summoned to the kingdom in the future. The Grim Troop are basically a group of bugs that serve a higher being known in the future. The Grim Troop are based on Hollow Nest kingdom. Characters like Relic Seeker Lem seemed content to just pillage artifacts from the ruined kingdom, but other bugs seemed interested in something greater. In the Howling Cliffs rests the corpse of a member of the Grim Troop. The task of this bug appears to have been to seek out Hollow Nest, so that the troop might be summoned to the kingdom in the future. The Grim Troop are basically a group of bugs that serve a higher being known as the Nightmare Heart. The troop keeps the heart alive by feeding on the nightmares of fallen kingdoms. This process also involves sacrificing the troop master to his own child because, hey, look at this cool ass boss battle.
Yeah.
Another
absolutely.
important group that traveled to Hollow Nest are the God Seekers. After being abandoned by their old gods, the gods of thunder and the gods of rain, these bugs left their home in the Land of Storms, seeking out a new god to worship. The God Seekers looked to gods to save them from their own silent mind. While traveling through the wastelands, the God Seekers constructed devices called God Tuners, which helped them seek out new gods. Through this device, they were able to detect the lingering power of the Pale King and find their way to Hollow Nest. When they arrived, however, the God Seeker was forced into hibernation. She was encased in a strange sarcophagus-like cocoon, which was itself chained up with a lock. It's not clear how this forced hibernation worked, seeing as the cocoon appears to have been made by the God Seeker herself. As for who put the cocoon in chains, I think the most likely candidate is the Dung Defender, considering how the God Seeker's cocoon is found in the junk pit in the waterways, an area the Dung Defender has tasked himself with protecting. This was the general picture of Hollow Nest after the Hollow Knight was sealed inside the Temple of the Black Egg. The kingdom was stuck in a kind of stasis, with the Pale King civilization destroyed and the Radiance unable to break free from her chains. The Pale King was rebelling against nature, trying to keep his work standing indefinitely. The stasis over Hollow Nest held for an age. How long is that exactly? Well, we have no idea. As I'm sure you've noticed, there really isn't a timeline for anything that happens in this game. We also have no idea how long any of these bugs can actually live. Elderbug wasn't around to see the Stagways open, but we know several other characters were, implying that Elderbug is probably one of the youngest characters in the whole game.
Ironic,
But
isn't
this
it?
stasis over Hollow Nest wasn't going to last forever. At some point, the Radiance erupted out of the Hollow Knight, cracking its shell and releasing a loud and powerful roar. The amount of infection leaking out of the Hollow Knight became even greater. The many corpses that lined the roads and cities of the kingdom sprang to life with the amplified power of the infection. This strengthened infection prompted the departure of the Weavers back to their old home. Now this old home might actually be Farloom, the kingdom in which Hollow Knight Silksong takes place. But the amount of knowledge we have about Silksong right now is pathetic, so I'm not saying that's confirmed or anything. This is also around the time that Quirrell arrives back in Hollow Nest. His memory of Motomon appears to have been clouded due to his time outside of Hollow Nest. These events are depicted in the Quirrell prequel comic, which also shows an image of the Hollow Knight with a pre-cracked shell. This could mean that Quirrell's arrival happens roughly the same time the Hollow Knight's shell cracks. At around the same time Quirrell arrives in Hollow Nest, we also see the arrival of the player character. who is commonly referred to as the Knight. The
No.
Knight was one of the lucky vessels that was able to make its way out of the abyss. Somehow the Knight ended up venturing beyond Hallownest and into the wilds beyond. It's implied that the Knight was called to Hallownest by either the sealed Hollow Knight or the Radiants within. Regardless, once the Knight shows up and yeets itself off this cliff, the actual game of Hollow Knight finally begins.
There was a cutscene that I can't remember actually. It's
Now,
been so long ago.
there's a lot of details we could get into. Hallownest is full of NPCs and bosses, each with their own stories to tell. But to be honest, I don't think we need to go
Tiso!
through all of them, since their stories are relatively straightforward. For example, let's look at the Brooding Moloch. So why is the Brooding Moloch brooding?
He's an incel.
Because all its friends are dead.
No.
And there you go. That's the lore
What
for
do you
the
mean?
Brooding
They literally said in the description that he's literally cannot find a mate. That's why he's sad.
Moloch. Also, it's the only character in the game with a visible asshole. Now, did you really need me to explain that to you? Probably not. So instead, I'm just going to talk about the interactions relating to Hollow Knight's main story.
Yeah, well, he's very closed-minded. He can go with another species, huh? See the knight, that one knight and the mantis, like you know, that it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's just closed-minded. He's a chud. He's a chud. He's a bigot. Alright. So yeah. Yeah, but Moloch is like an animal. Yeah, well, it can go fuck itself. Isn't he supposed to be intelligent, huh? From the Pale King's brain juices stuff. Also, yeah, it's the intro, but like I completely forgot. It's been so long ago.
The Knight is eventually noticed by Hornet, who lures it deep into Green Path. There, Hornet attempts to kill the Knight, claiming that she knows what it would try to do. At this point, Hornet views the Knight as being too weak. After the fight, Hornet can be found in the City of Tears, next to the statue of the Hollow Knight. Hornet mentions that the Knight has gained a resilience, due to the time it spent in the void beyond Hallownest. This could be referring to the fact that some of those who leave Hallownest lose their memories, meaning the Knight would have no memories of its own tragic conception. Hornet tells the Knight that if it seeks to continue the stasis that keeps Hallownest standing, it must seek the Graven Ash, which is referring to the Kingdom's Edge. At this moment, Hornet sees the Knight as a possible replacement for the Hollow Knight. Basically, the Knight could break the seals that keep the Hollow Knight locked away, defeat the Hollow Knight, and
No, but I don't know if you answered, but no, it does not look intelligent, but it's supposed to be intelligent, doesn't it?
contain the infection itself. It's at this point that I should mention that Hollow Knight actually has 5 different endings, because of course it would. I'm going to be explaining each of these endings in this video, as they each give us a different glimpse into the mechanics of Hollow Knight's world. Now, to get the easiest ending to Hollow Knight, Hornet's instructions to go to the Kingdom's Edge can be ignored completely. If the Knight stumbles upon the resting grounds, the 3 dreamers will appear and cast the Knight into the Dream Realm. There, Seer will come to the Knight's rescue and grant it the Dream Nail, a special blade that can tear the veil between the real world and the dream world. With the Dream Nail, the Knight can venture to the resting places of the 3 dreamers, curb stomp their asses, and unlock the entrance to the Black Egg. Inside the egg, the Knight finds the Hollow Knight chained up, silently watching over it. Once the chains are broken, the Hollow Knight screams with that familiar Radiance roar and pursues the Knight. As the fight progresses, the Hollow Knight starts trying to kill itself, Kuro
Ouch.
style. But then the Radiance starts using the Hollow Knight's body to perform her own attacks. Once defeated, the Hollow Knight begins to spew infection all over the place. The Knight can then focus the infection into itself. This results in the first ending of the game, called Hollow Knight. In this ending, the Knight usurps the Hollow Knight, prolonging the stasis over Hallownest. New chains and bindings appear out of fuck if I know, and contain the Knight, and a new seal is placed over the entrance to the Black Egg. Now there is one giant question looming over this ending. Can the Knight actually contain the infection indefinitely, or will the Radiant still manage to break free one day?
Yeah, I know. That's why we did it.
Before we answer this question, let's look at some of the other events that can transpire while playing the game. If the player chooses to go to Kingdom's Edge, Hornet will challenge the Knight one last time as a final test of strength. After her defeat, Hornet allows the Knight to access the cast-off shell, where the Pale King was originally hatched. By interacting with this egg, the Knight's shell is marked with the King's brand, technically making the Knight the new ruler of Hallownest. With the King's Brand, the Knight can now open the entrance to the Abyss and discover the place of its birth. When leaving the Abyss, the Knight can encounter Hornet again, where for the first time, Hornet suggests that there are actually two outcomes the Knight can enact. She tells the Knight that it can either prolong Hallownest's stasis, or face the heart of the kingdom's infection. Within the Knight, Hornet sees a chance for change. Instead of just replacing the Hollow Knight, Hornet believes that it may be possible to get rid of the infection completely by using the void inside of the Knight. After visiting the Abyss and obtaining the Shade Cloak, the Knight is capable of reaching the White Lady, hidden away in the Queen's Gardens. The White Lady tells the Knight that she has been awaiting a vessel to accept a gift, that gift being one half of a charm called the King's Soul, which she claims will give the Knight more power. The White Lady goes on to explain that she can feel the weakening of the Hollow Knight within her roots. She tells the Knight that it is free of the blemishes that made the Hollow Knight a flawed vessel. From this dialogue, it is implied that the Knight truly is a Knight of flawed vessel roots. She tells the Knight that it is free of the blemishes that made the Hollow Knight a flawed vessel.
Ooh. Wait.
Being one half of a charm called the King's Soul, which she claims will give the Knight more power. The White Lady goes on to explain that she can feel the weakening of the Hollow Knight within her roots. She tells the Knight that it is free of the blemishes that made the Hollow Knight a flawed vessel.
Oh, wait. Does that mean we're actually a better vessel? We were a better vessel than the Hollow Knight itself, according to the White Lady.
From this dialogue, it is implied that the Knight truly is a pure vessel, capable of containing the Radiance successfully. But it's not quite that simple, so we're gonna have to dig a bit deeper into this. Basically, we're gonna need to answer a simple question.
Before boy with void heart, yes, okay.
What exactly does it mean to be a Hollow Knight? Despite the White Lady's words, we have a number.
Whoa, what the fuck?
What exactly does it mean to be a Hollow Knight?
What the fuck? Steel Soul Jin. I guess it's a Steel Soul Run exclusive. It refuses to trade. It has a will all its own. Can refuse. Jin will keep waiting until a gift comes. Interesting.
Despite the White Lady's words, we have a number of instances where the characters and item descriptions mention that the Knight has a will, and maybe even a mind. But from the Pale King's dialogue when describing the Hollow Knight, it is stated that a pure vessel has no mind or will. So is the White Lady wrong? Or maybe even lying? Her eyes have been clouded by time, and she can be tricked into thinking that Ogrim is in the room when the Knight is wearing the Defender's Crest charm. She also thinks that Dryia is still alive, which,
Yeah, she's fucking dead. Okay, yeah.
so maybe the White
she's a bit
Lady is
dumb.
just senile. My problem with that
Yeah.
theory is that the White Lady states that the vessels stand out to her clearly in a misted world, due to them being her spawn. She also questions whether or not the Knight sought her aid, which would imply that the Knight must have some kind of will. So for whatever reason, the White Lady thinks the Knight is still capable of containing the Radiance, even if it's still able to make decisions. After all, the Hollow Knight was considered pure, but they still taught it how to wield a fucking sword. I mean, if the Knight were truly and completely hollow in a literal sense, it probably shouldn't even be able to walk, or
Yeah.
draw a map, or open a goddamn bank account. In short,
Which I never
this
did
whole
because that would be a mistake.
concept of being hollow is so abstract and hard to define. I don't really feel comfortable giving a solid answer on whether or not the Knight is or isn't truly hollow, and I think the game leaves room open for other interpretations. Of course, the White Lady's gift is useless without the other half of the King's Soul. In order to reach it, however, the Knight must travel to the White Palace, locked inside the body of a King's Mold. In order to bypass the seal, the Knight must use a fully awakened Dream Nail. It can do this by bringing 1800 essence to the Seer, allowing her to sharpen the weapon's blade. If the Knight does this, the Seer remarks that the Knight truly is the wielder that her tribe has been dreaming of. There's no explicit reason why the Moth tribe was dreaming about this supposed wielder so much, but it seems like they believe the wielder would wash away the crimes the Moth tribe committed by turning their backs on the Radiance. The Seer seems to know that the Knight...
That's what she meant. Oh, that makes sense now. Okay. But what the Radiance does is it like an act of vengeance, or were they like malevolent from the beginning? That's my real question now, you know? Was it an evil piece of shit from the get go? Or is it just pissed off that people forgot them? You know?
Might kill the Radiants, and she seems accepting of it, ready for her and her tribe to disappear and be forgotten forever. With the
Right.
awoken Dreamnail in hand, the knight can travel to the Pale King's refuge and locate the other half of the King's Soul charm. When equipped, the King's Soul provides a never-ending supply of soul, making it almost useful if it weren't for the insanely high cost of the charm,
Yeah.
and the painfully slow rate at which it increases, and the fact that the charm will get replaced in about 5 minutes after you get it. The King's Soul charm itself symbolizes the union between two higher beings. To me, this implies that the King's Soul is a representation of a vessel, which also was created by the union of two higher beings. With the King's Soul in their inventory, the knight now gains access to an area in the abyss called the Birthplace. In this massive pile of vessel shells, the knight can find a giant egg. Dream nailing the egg allows the knight to access its own memory when it was cast down into the abyss. From viewing that memory, the King's Soul charm is replaced with the Void Heart charm. The recollection of this event allows the knight to come to terms with the void inside itself. Once the knight has the Void Heart, the shades in the abyss no longer attack it, and that strange creature that gives the knight the Shade Cloak calls it the Lord of Shades. In other words, the knight has now bound the once fragmented void under its own will, allowing it to control the void in a powerful new way. With the union of the void, the Pale King, and the White Lady, the knight has gained a
But wouldn't that mean though, I think like the Louis like lost all of his memories from like, you know, going away, right? You know, from like leaving somehow and then coming from outside of the entire like king, the whole Hellenist. Because apparently going outside of Hellenist like takes away your memories and shit. And then like when he came back, he had like faded, hazy memories. But now he could regain all of all of its memories by you know, like dream nailing himself and like, you know, his own like mind to like, you know, crawl and make, you know, all these like his you know, living aloneness means losing attention and perchance memories. Yes, yeah, but like yeah, and that means like, you know, when he did that, Louis, you know, that he just like remembered everything like clearly, and like, you know, he remembered its purpose, he remembered who he was, you know, the Void Heart. That's why he became like, you know, the Void Heart appeared, you know, like became a thing, because he remembered its own purpose, you know, its own like self. He recollected.
strength before unseen, allowing it to control the void in a powerful new way. With the union of the void, the Pale King, and the White Lady, the knight has gained a strength before unseen. It is with this charm that 2 additional endings become unlocked. Hornet will now be standing outside of the Black Egg, offering to help the knight should the opportunity arrive. Midway through the fight with the Hollow Knight, Hornet rushes into battle, subduing the Hollow Knight and piercing its shell. It's at this point that the knight is given the perfect opportunity to enter into the mind of its sibling, fighting the source of the infection head on, and
He's gonna make a joke, and the joke is gonna be that he's gonna do the other ending when he doesn't actually do that and just kill him.
finally putting an end to the Radiance's tyranny. Or I can just stand there and let Hornet get knocked unconscious.
There we go.
If the knight finishes
Classic.
off the Hollow Knight as usual, the sealed sibling ending occurs. Basically, it's the same as the Hollow Knight ending, but now Hornet is in the room too, and her face appears on the door of the Black Egg. It's not clear what exactly this means for Hallownest. This might imply that Hornet is now a dreamer, but she's inside the temple, meaning that no one can actually get in there to kill her should the knight ever start leaking infection. At the same time, Hornet mentions that the bindings of the Black Egg would drain her, so she's probably just going to die anyway, right? Generally, people consider this to be one of the worst endings, but it's worth pointing out that Team Cherry doesn't
They're investing in all future Hollow Knight content. I account for all of them. Ooh, how's that gonna work for Silksong though?
support any one ending as being the true ending. Each ending is canonical in its own right, and honestly, this ending isn't the worst. At least the Knight and Hornet will get to spend some quality time together.
Shut the fuck
If the
up.
Knight does dream nail the Hollow Knight, it will be taken to an arena where it can finally fight the Radiance head on. But the Knight isn't alone, as the other shades from the Abyss will appear in order to help corner the Radiance. Eventually, the Radiance gets trapped in the tendrils of the Void. The Knight bitch slaps her a couple times, and then the Radiance is consumed into the darkness. The Black Egg then appears to turn to shadows, and the Void seeps down into the ground. Hornet awakens to find the Knight's broken shell lying on the floor. We get one final shot of the Shades in the Abyss going to rest, and the game is over. This ending is called the Dream No More ending. The Radiance is gone, and Hallownest is finally free from her infection. Now I think it's fair to ask a few questions about how the Dream No More ending comes about. When the Hollow Knight was initially chosen to become the pure vessel, the Abyss was sealed up and the rest of the vessels were left to rot away. But somehow, vessels ended up outside of the Abyss, and then one of those vessels was used to replace the Hollow Knight. Exactly how much of this operation was planned, if at all? The White Lady was waiting for a vessel. Did she have any communication with Hornet? Hornet was guarding the King's Brand, the only way for a vessel to enter
Oh my god, it's a conspiracy! I love conspiracies.
the Abyss. How did she know it was necessary to guard the King's Brand from weaker vessels? Hell, if the vessels did escape the Abyss by themselves, wouldn't it be pointless to guard the King's Brand, since the vessels could just creep back into the Abyss the same way? I'm not going to provide any good answers to these questions, because God forbid I answer anything in this entire video, but I do want these questions,
Let me answer all.
because God forbid I answer any.
How did the White Lady get around? It didn't. It's like a tree. Tree roots and shit, you know? There we go. Why aren't the infected bugs in the Colosseum mindless? What do you mean, mindless? I mean, they are, aren't they? Hey. The only the ones that are, like, are inside and they're fighting. Mindlessly. You know, and then there aren't zombies. Yeah, but there are like a bunch of those, like everywhere in Hollow Nest, like the enemies with the, you know, that are infected, but they like just fight you and shit. You know? Yeah, that reminds me of the Colosseum. I'm not sure what you're especially saying because every monster I remember, like. Anyway, I mean the other ones like the fools, like they're not infected. They're like they don't have the glowing eyes. You know?
Anything.
What is it with the pale beings? Is this some commentary on the race or something? Um. What's the deal with pale beings? It's not a race thing. It's a power thing. They bleed orange. So, maybe, you know, so you can bleed orange. It's fine. Like, what's wrong with bleeding orange? Can bleed orange without being infected. Yeah. So what? You know, it is orange. Well, just because I bleed red, it means that means I'm a cow because cows bleed red as well. Huh? That's what you're implying. That's pretty racist, man. Just say. Only bleed orange. Yeah. So that doesn't mean other characters that are not infected do not bleed orange. But yeah, I think the pale beings are just like a god thing, you know. Did Ogrim give Isma a dirty Sanchez? I don't know what a dirty Sanchez is, and I don't want to know because this guy is fucking Coomer brained. How did the Hollow Knight grow? With age? I don't know. It feels like it's much older than us. Like, I don't know. It maybe just grew old. Just for the innovation, Colo shoot infection. Yo, it's fucking mindless. It's a literal aspid. It's literally mindless. What do you mean? Like, how do you know? How do you say that they have like that they have their minds when they're literally just like, you know? Also, yeah. What is the collector? Probably little grubs. Okay, no, it doesn't happen.
Higher.
Where's the deepness boss? Seriously, what the fuck? Bad game design. It was the entire area. That was the boss.
Video.
Why is Un's strength decreasing? Because they're getting old. Why are we here? Just to suffer. Every night. Okay.
But I do want to point out that no plans to actually produce the Dream No.
Hello, Rule 0451. You probably like the color red. How did you figure that out? I'm puzzled. How did you figure that out, actually? I never mentioned it. That's very weird. Welcome to the stream, man. It's a... yeah.
More
Welcome to the stream.
ending are explicitly stated in-game. So we can only speculate as to whether or not the White Lady or Hornet, or maybe even the Pale King, knew that they could defeat the Radiants by creating a Lord of Shades like the Knight. Regardless,
But he's not the Lord of Shades, though. Isn't he? Because I was looking up like Hollow Knight Shade stuff. Like the Shade Lord is not Louis. It's not Louis. It's not our little boy here. It's not him. It's like the Shade I don't know, Shade Form or something. And there's like the Shade Master. I mean, Expedition 33 gonna win everything in this Game Awards. Oh, Game Awards is a Game Award. I didn't even know there was a Game Awards. I mean, maybe I still have to play it. To be honest, I haven't played it yet. It's in my library right now, but I haven't played it yet. I'm planning to play it, but it's not right now. But yeah, but I've heard many good things about it. You know, it's like a, you know, reasonable game, good game. You know, like for like, I don't know, a breath of fresh air in the gaming industry and stuff. And it came out of nowhere, fucked everyone's asses. Very good stuff, you know. And yeah, but yeah, there was like the thing, you know, when you do the Godseeker shit, like you get the Louis, like, I mean, it's not Louis that beats the fuck out of him, you know. So I mean, it's like Baldur's Gate 3. Nobody plays it, but it's the best game of the whole year. All I know about Baldur's Gate 3, first of all, where is 1 and 2? Alright, second of all I know about the game is that you can fuck everyone or something like that. You can romance and fuck with everyone. That's literally the only shit I know about this game. That's like the thing that made the most noise about this game, you know. Game Awards tomorrow, same time as now, I believe. Wait, no, about 1 a.m. for Asturf. Alright. Well, I don't know if I'll be there, but it's not like I give much of a fuck, you know. It's like all this shit is already pre-planned, pre-made, pre-packed. You know, like with the fucking council that doesn't even play video games, bro. Just like, right, I'm gonna fucking... It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. Like literally Pizza Tower, last year, Pizza Tower didn't get Game of the Year. Didn't get Indie Game of the Year. Didn't get shit. Pizza Tower absolutely... like smashed the fuck out of every other fucking game that didn't get even this crumb of recognition. Bro, Game Awards ain't shit. Game Awards, I do this to them, the Game Awards, bro. Fucking bullshit voting systems, bro. Yeah. Imagine Donkey Kong Bonanza gonna win the Game of the Year, like Astro Bot the last year. Yeah, it's just, I mean, apparently Astro Bot was that good. I don't know. I haven't played. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. But yeah, I don't know, it's just corpo. It's just corpo crap. It's just corpo bullshit. It's not real gamers. It's not real gamers from the streets, from the hood, you know? Like people that game, that do, that the game's the game, you know? That gaming is the gaming of the gaming, you know? Yeah. Like none of these motherfuckers go on each IO, you know? They don't do that shit, you know? They don't do that. Not even a PC gamer. It's not even a PC gamer thing. They just don't play games. Bro, if you tell them what, do you know about Bully? You know, the video game on PlayStation 2? They don't know about it. Because they're not gamers, the people that do this shit. Right? They don't have any gamer cred. If you know Video Game Donkey, there's a concept he created called gamer cred. You know? They don't have gamer cred at all, man. All they do is play FIFA. And play the occasional, like, AAA game. That's it. Bullshit. Alright. Enough yapping and complaining. But yeah. Glad we could bond over hating fucking modern gaming. I don't know. Yeah, okay. But yeah, Shade Lord.
the next 2 endings were definitely not planned. In fact, the last 2 endings that were added in the Godmaster update almost feel out of place. The Godseekers basically hijack everything to the point where you don't even have to enter the Temple of the Black Egg to beat the game.
Really?
That's like beating Mario Bros without ever seeing Bowser. But on the other hand, the Godmaster endings basically reinforce that Hallownest does not exist in a vacuum. which can help the world of Hollow Knight feel more real. Because what else is reality but just a
I mean, in a vacuum. What does he mean by that?
bunch of random chaotic stuff happening all the time? If the knight finds the Godseeker in the junk pit, it will be able to enter her mind and refight all the bosses in.
Wait. Ah, sisters. Oh, those were the ones I missed because okay. Okay. Because there was like some shit that I was missing in here, but it was because. Yeah. I get it.
The game. This is part of the Godseeker's ritual. They basically attune to the resonance of gods through ritual combat. This allows them to ascend their minds higher, and eventually, through the use of godly focus, achieve communication with the god sleeping in Hallownest's heart, the Radiance. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a pretty convoluted little religious practice they have going on here. What's next? Are they going to start measuring the knight's Theon levels? It's pretty complicated, but the point is, these Godseekers have some serious capabilities to fuck things up in Hallownest, as we're about to see. As the knight makes it further and further through the 4 pantheons,
All I've been hearing is yapping. I need some tangible evidence of what they're doing now.
the Godseekers get closer and closer to making contact with the Radiance, locked away inside the Hollow Knight. At the end of the 4th pantheon, the Radiance makes herself aware in this strange reunion cutscene between the vessels. But she isn't the only one to make an appearance.
Yeah.
The Void itself appears to go on the attack, rising up to meet the Radiance's call.
Yeah.
It's at this point that the
Because they didn't want anything revolutionary in the gaming, like Crysis in 2007. They'll be playing Fortnite with mobile game graphics for the next 20 years and enjoying it. Yeah, I mean, all they need, to be honest, like this, it's only like, good, like, oh my god, the more realistic it looks, the better it is. Oh my god, I don't know, I don't care. Like, it's cool when games look realistic, but it's not the bread and butter, bro. The core of a good game is the story, it's a good story, good gameplay. It's not just, I mean, it's fine, like, to each their own. It's just like, I don't know, there's gonna be slop players and there's gonna be art players, you know what I mean? There's gonna be people that play Hideo Kojima games, there's gonna be people who play EA Sports games, you know what I'm saying? And except for Skate. The Skate franchise, it doesn't count. But apart from that, yeah.
final challenge, the Pantheon of Hallownest, becomes available. The Godseeker finally acknowledges the knight as being more than just
Still baffles me how there's people like every year that goes out of their way to buy FIFA. That still boggles me, like in NBA 2K. Like, that's just so dumb. I don't know. To me, it's always been the most like room temperature IQ shit. Like, they just like wake up one. Like, do they have sentience? The people that play FIFA, like that buy FIFA every. Like, I understand playing FIFA. It's a cool game to play, sometimes. But buying FIFA every year, it should die with everything from the 90s. No, Skate 3. Bro, it was my game. Bro, on PlayStation 3, Skate 3, it was the shit, bro. It was the shit. You do not speak ill of Skate 3, bro. I don't know about Skate 2, and the newer Skate 4, which I should try, actually, because it looks kind of fun. But Skate 3, it was a masterpiece. A masterpiece of like convoluted bullshit, but it was amazing. It was the best shit ever. Many glitches, many stuff to do. I don't know. It was just fun. And what literally it created my initiated me to like swag. I was a kid. I didn't know how to dress, and this shit like gave me like proper good good direction how to dress cool. I'm not talking about this. This is just like, I don't know why. I forgot why I'm wearing a dress shirt, but I like punk stuff, and this skate games introduced me to the punk style, punk lifestyle. So I mean, I don't really follow the punk lifestyle, but yeah. Xbox 360 was the golden era of video game industry. Oh, so you're an Xbox fella, huh? I was on the PlayStation, one of the PlayStation fella. I mean, now I'm on PC, so I don't really give a shit anymore. But still remember the fucking useless fucking corpo war that was like between the fans. Like, now that I really look back on it, we were fucking stupid. We literally like tools of propaganda. We're fighting for fucking companies. It was really fucking dim-witted, to be honest. Like, oh no, you like using your consuming station. No, my consuming station is better than your consuming stations. What, no games? What do you mean? The what do you mean? What are you talking about? Like the PlayStation, or like do you mean exclusive games? I don't know. I don't think I haven't played like exclusive games. I just played like what I played on the PlayStation 3 was like Infamous. No, there was a bunch of games. I don't know. Like I played Little Big Planet, played Skate 3. I played Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Played how do you call it? Infamous 2, Dead Nation. What else? Castle Crashers. Although it's but still there was Castle Crashers on PlayStation. Journey, Flower, Ace Combat Infinity. Bro, there was so much shit, bro. Tekken Tag Tournament, Tekken 7. No, not Tekken 7. That was Tekken. Yeah, Tekken Tag Tournament. I think I actually played Tekken 6, but etc. etc. Anyway,
It's a simple cringer, and they begin to watch the knight more intently. After defeating like a bazillion bosses in the final pantheon, the knight finally comes face to face with the Absolute Radiance,
okay.
a stronger, more enhanced version of the game's final boss. Finally, the stage is set. After roughly 40 minutes of intense agony and tedious boss battles,
Yeah, and I'm not
the
gonna
knight
do
has finally
that.
reached the ultimate enemy, responsible for the destruction of Halonest. Truly, this will be a battle for the ages. But first, let's check in on our old pal Menderbug. As it turns out, he's
The
still
console wars, not gonna lie. Now it doesn't care at all because PlayStation own Xbox just became an app on TV and PC. There won't be new console from Microsoft. Yeah, it was fun. It was indeed fun. I don't know. It gave us purpose as kids, I guess. Gave us a flag to fly in the wind. Good times. It was good times. Back when there was like this was the biggest of our concerns. Well, now we got like fucking work. Gotta do shit. Gotta buy our mortgage. I don't know, boring stuff. I don't know. Looking back on that stuff, like that was our biggest concern. Honestly, it was very good. It was good times. Nice memories.
alive when the knight arrives in Halonest, and he's still fulfilling his duty after all this time. Let's take one last look at his diary.
My lovely diary. Someone's gone and broke my favorite sign, right there at the top of the crossroads. Keeps happening too. But I just can't get mad about it. I should be thanking them, really. More chances to fix that beautiful, complex sign. And I've stocked up on spare parts, so I've no fear it'll ever stay broken for long.
Yeah, it's Hollow Knight lore. Like, because I finished playing Hollow Knight. Like, I've just beaten Hollow Knight yesterday. Like, I did 112%, and then I just I finished it, and I just wanted like a big lore video that was recommended, just to take in, because I'm a little bit of a caveman. Like, I'm an ice dweller sometimes, so like sometimes I didn't get it. So like I'm just watching we're reacting to this big lore video, and taking it in. And because right after that, not today obviously, like in 2 days or tomorrow will be Cyberpunk 2077. But the day after, we should be starting Silksong, which is gonna be cool. But yeah, I get a good idea of what I'm fucking doing, so I'm not clueless on the game, because I love lore. I just really love lore. Like, I'm a lore guy, and always invested in, like, the story is one of the biggest, if not the biggest thing I give a fuck about in video games. Although gameplay comes, like, sometimes gameplay fully focused on gameplay games, it's also very, very fun and good. I'm always gonna be the sucker for like visual novels and all that shit. I mean, visual novels. I mean, Ace Attorney is a visual novel, but like anything with a good story is like something I fuck with. But yeah, and now I'm just trying to get my lore down so that I can go like with a nice fresh brain when I get to Silksong. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the only way to ever read the Menderbug's diary is to kill him in cold blood. I'm not sure why Team Cherry thought this was necessary, but the general consensus on Reddit is that they are bloodthirsty warmongers, so it checks out. But at least Menderbug's last moments will be spent fixing one of his favorite signs in the Forgotten Crossroads. It's comforting to think that his final seconds of consciousness were spent in total bliss, before we sent him hurtling into the infinite chasm that is oblivion.
Poor guy.
Well, anyways, the alternate fight between the knight and
And that's why you haven't found Menderbug's diary yet. I see. Well, I'm not gonna kill him. I'm glad I didn't then. I'm glad I got it through another genocider, another killer. Huh? I didn't do any killings. I didn't kill any Menderbugs. They're chilling. They're chilling, sleeping soundly in my save file, bro. Until I delete my video game. But you know.
Radiance plays out differently than in the vanilla ending. This time around, the knight is not accompanied by any shades.
Yeah.
Instead, after defeating the Radiance, the knight seems to transform into this monstrosity.
Yeah.
Now this creature goes by many names. The God of Gods, the Lord Shade, the Devourer, the Void Entity. But I don't really like any of those, so I will just call him Bill. Bill proceeds to completely...
Okay, I'm gonna forgive him for that because I call the knight Louis. So, you know, you get the Bill, I get the Louis, alright? I never cared about Hollow Knight, but I knew all of that hype for Silksong. It's ridiculous that on peak there was 500,000 player online. Like, I thought it was just an indie Metroidvania, but it turns out to be a big hit. Yeah, because the thing is, this fucking game turns out, like, I don't know how to say it. I mean, I personally, I just came super late. That's literally, that's why I finished Hollow Knight, like, now. You know, like, I'm super late to the party, but, like, according to what I've heard, what I've seen, what I've you know, swimmed through the community's lore, it was, like, what, 7 years of waiting, and, like, very little updates on anything, and then out of nowhere, like, boom, they just, like, on the fucking, like, game reveal, like, stuff, they literally just, like, like 5-second clips. A 5-second clip of, like, oh yeah, Silksong's coming out soon. And that's it. And everyone lost their fucking shit because it was not ceremonious, not nothing. They're just like, hey, oh yeah, it's gonna release soon. And that's it. People lost their shit, and then it came out. Boom. And obviously it's gonna make a big hit because there was so much, like, anticipation. And it just dropped, like, the sliver of, like, and then sneak release on everyone. Boom. Explosion, and yeah. And the hype was there, you know, and it's a very good game. If honestly, now that I've played and finished Hollow Knight, it's a very good game. It was very fun. You know, I never played Metroidvanias before. I had a fucking blast. A lot of pain too, but I'm a masochist, so it's fine. You know, so compensates.
Annihilate the Radiance in spectacular fashion.
You should try it if you want, but this is like you've just been exposed to like in a incommensurable amount of spoilers right now. My bad, I guess, but yeah.
We are then treated to the Embrace the Void ending. Bill comes back down from the sky, dropping into the rest of Godhome. The Godseeker starts to get pulled into Bill by Void tendrils. We then cut to the Godseeker in the junk pit. Void starts leaking out of her eyes, and it appears as though Bill is making an escape back into the real world, which is probably a bad thing? Finally,
awesome.
We see Hornet standing outside of the black egg as the infection begins to disappear from nearby vines. Hornet hears footsteps
That's what that means. Okay.
coming from inside the black egg, as the Hollow Knight reveals itself to her, and the two prepare for combat. So from this...
and that's the Hollow Knight. I get the ending now because I always was confused. I thought this was like the thing that the Hornet like ends up like encountering here. I thought it was the like whatever like the Shadow Lord or something that it escaped from there. But no, it's not. Right. Makes a lot of sense now.
cutscene, we can see that the Radiance's death in Godhome actually did kill her for real, meaning that the infection over Hallownest is now gone. This means the seals inside of the
Walks out of the egg for some reason after Radiance dies in Godhome. Yeah, because he's not possessed anymore. And I don't think they will actually fight though. I think he's like, oh, I'm fucking tired, bro. Do you have some water? You know, some shit like this. You gotta spare a smoke, bro. You know, some stuff like this is what I'm expecting him to say. I don't think they're gonna fight. You know, I just think Hornet is like a very tense all the time. They're just, you know, in Mossbag is about I expect.
black egg probably wore off, allowing the Hollow Knight to escape its prison. In other words, the Embrace of
Wait, what kind of hype will there be when they announce Half-Life 3? It's going to break the internet, funny enough, but there have been rumors that they'll release it soon, like 10 years ago. That there will be this year's Game Award, but I'm 100% sure nothing of this will happen. You know, there was like something of a Russian reporter or something that like went to Valve's like headquarters and they witnessed like them working on Half-Life 3. Like it was never being worked with ever. Like I think they started working on it and then they stopped. A little too bad, I guess. Like this, they stopped working on it, and because they were like, okay, you know, it's not gonna do any money, like it's not gonna do shit. And then, you know, like after a while, you know, everyone, you know, a lot of years passed, and like people always kept making fun. Oh yeah, like there's not gonna be a Half-Life 3 and stuff. And then Valve just came out and like, okay, I guess people do want Half-Life 3. And then they started working on it, but like fairly recently. I don't know, like recently as in like 1 year ago, but like I don't know, like 3 years or maybe more, maybe less. I don't know. And that they're currently working on it, and that maybe it's gonna release soon or something. But like it's still kept on the covers, and when you do release it, I think it's gonna be a huge bomb, and that will actually break the internet. But yeah. So headsets like a quick reload. They don't really have to work because they have casino games like CS2 or Dota. They have them billions of dollars. They don't have to rush at all. Yeah, and to be honest, Valve and Steam, they don't at this point they don't really do it for the money. I mean, they do, but like they just have a system to make money. But the video games themselves, they want to make them good, which is respectable. It's like they don't want to fuck over their customers. So I think they really want to make Half-Life 3 a really good game. Although I haven't played Half-Life 2, and I gotta play it. I played Black Mesa, which is Half-Life 1, but I gotta play Half-Life 2. It's on my list of a hit list. You can check on my bio thing. I have a games hit list. It's like every the games I'm currently playing. Then there's the games it's that are on my hit list, and then there's every game I've completed or like experienced, like through Let's Players or myself, And yeah. But Half-Life 2 is on the list. As a matter of fact, I should remove it. Okay, but I'll take care of that later.
Void ending is a goddamn cliffhanger, and we have no idea how Team Cherry plans to follow this up. The Hollow Knight is running loose in Hallownest, and the Knight has transformed into a raging void monster that might try to destroy the entire kingdom, or at least what's left of it. What's even more strange about this ending is that the announced sequel, Hollow Knight Silksong, doesn't seem to be related to this ending at all. But that's a whole different shit show. Obviously, the biggest mystery surrounding this ending is the appearance of Bill. Did this creature exist in the void already? Or was it somehow willed into existence by the power of the
I think that's like the opposite of Radiance. Now the series in Black Mesa is a little different than the original Half-Life game. But just for the plot, it's enough. Yeah, that's what I've been told too. Like that's why I've been recommended Black Mesa, because like better graphics and all that stuff. It generally was a very pretty game. Like when you get to Xen cinema, like honestly, it was so cool. Like genuinely was like such a pure flavor for your eyeballs, like a very, very pretty game. Like I don't know, and just fun, good gameplay. It was just good. It was just good all around. Yeah, no shit, they were making Zen for like 7 years. Fair enough. But it was a huge, like after like wandering through fucking container laboratory containers, like industrial plant, and then you like all these metallic gray shit. Then when you finally you actually arrive at Xen, you're like, whoa! It's like a massive like slap in the fucking face. Like you get like the fucking whiplash at how pretty this whole fucking biome is. It's genuinely so cool. And yeah, it looks like it took fucking 7 years, because this shit was fucking magnificent. Yeah, yeah. But what I was about to say about the Hollow Knight, this thing, these motherfuckers, I think the Shade Lord is basically like the god of the void, There's the Gradience is the god of the dreams or whatnot. And yeah, Shadow Lord is the god of void, But like they were dormant this whole time because, I don't know, they were like stuck in the abyss or some shit. But now with Louis, we just woke him back up and we're like, whoa! And we just fucked them up because the Radiance was like keeping them at bay with their like shiny rays and shit, Because you gotta have a balance, but the balance over, you know what I'm saying? So he calls Shade Lord God of Gods. Yeah, but do we really take the God Seeker's words for like gospel? They're just a fucking fanboy. They're like a Olympus fanboy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they're just like this shit. They thought Louis was a fucking like bug. They were a regular bug. And then they started like, oh my god, you're such a god, Lamau! And after we beat the shit out of everyone, you know what I'm saying? Yes, in the original game, Xen was really in a terrible state, especially the difficult final corridor before the final boss. I remember the final boss. I have no recollection of that final corridor, though. I do remember one thing from the final boss of Half-Life, Black Mesa, is how jarring it was to have no boss fight music. It was pure silence and just like sound effects. Maybe it was a glitch on my part, but I just remember that. It was an awesome fight, but it was just no music, and it was just like so weird. I don't know, but yeah. The creature seems trustworthy. I don't know how much, but I would trust his judgment about a lot of things, but this thing, not really.
God Seekers. did the night turn into this thing, or did it just become a part of it? Examining a statue of this creature and other forms of the night grant the player a Hunter's Journal entry for an ancient artifact called the Void Idol.
Ooh. Artifact from a time before Alness. It spires twine in a unified form. Contains a large amount of liquid from the abyss, perfectly still. Inspired or mad, those ancient bugs, they devoted their worship to no lord or power or strength, to the very darkness itself.
Which might imply that
In the original, there was also the music for boss fights, just ambient music.
this creature might have
I
been
see.
worshipped by the ancient civilization. But again, that's pure speculation. We don't know what this worship of Void exactly looked like. Maybe the Void they worshipped took the form of something more sinister. There is one thing we know about this monster though. It's weak to flowers. Yes, these things.
Yeah.
As it turns out, those delicate flowers that Zamir has stockpiled up her ass are actually useful for something. They contain a strange power that even deters the White Lady from touching one. The Godseeker, however, is dumb enough to accept a flower from the night. If the player does this, instead of Void being released out into the world, this flower pulls a no you, and the Godseeker and Void disappear into thin air. The flower itself is described as giving off a pale light, which appears to connect it to the pale beings. Like I said before, pale beings appear to be some form of top tier gods. As of right now, we are only aware of two, the Pale King and the White Lady. But the fact that Zamir brought these pale flowers from a faraway land implies that there are definitely more of them out there.
Yeah.
Another small
very
hint of the
true.
existence of pale beings are the pale ore items that can be found all over Hallownest. Did these come from the
Pale ore, that's so true. You know, and then we get pure nail. I think pale and pure are very similar. I think they're in the same like area. You know, that's what I was thinking. You know, the pure vessel, pure nail, pure ore, pale ore. You know, pale gods, pale this and that. You know what I'm saying? I think it's one of the same thing. You know, I think it's these two sides of the same coin. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that's what's the deal with them. That's why they're so strong. I think they're just the pure gods, I guess. You know, they're not like light. They're not dark. They're not XYZ. They're just pure. They're just like neutral, pure, you know, of the gods of the Hallownest, you know. You know what I'm saying? I think the mask from Mask Shards also pale ore. Don't know. Yeah. Something like that, you know, like, you know, something like that. That's what I think, like, what the pure thing are, you know.
Pale King? Or possibly some other pale being. And what exactly are they? Are they poop? In general, the Godmaster endings appear to be doing a lot of setup for future Hollow Knight content.
Maybe.
Like I said before, Hollow Knight
Whoa,
Silksong discussed,
whoa.
but the two communities did come to a truce.
What?
King's the night finally
Shit,
My lovely diary. Someone's gonna.
said Zamir. The fact that we are in a bit of a almost feels like
Stop.
we're looking through a
Spoil.
keyhole. How bugs have interactions they put. There's definitely what these endings actually mean for the greater narrative Team Cherry is building. There's definitely a lot more to consider about what the
I don't know, dude. I just saw Silksong gameplay. I don't want to get spoiled. And plus, it looked like a boss fight.
pale beings are and what properties they possess. And we also have plenty of questions surrounding the Void
So they were the trails for.
and how bugs have interacted with it in the past. It almost feels like we're looking through a keyhole, trying to grasp onto the totality of Team Cherry's creation. How powerful are creatures like Bill and the worms? Where did things like the Void even come from to begin with? How much bigger is the world beyond Hallownest? Is Bardoon into butt stuff? But of course, that's the appeal of a game like Hollow Knight. Having all of the answers to every question would just ruin the mystery of the world. Plus, if we didn't have questions like this to waste our time on, then what else would we be doing with our lives? Go outside? Ugh. And so this video comes to an end.
Okay.
Now I know the average attention span of a YouTube viewer is 9 minutes. So let me leave you with a few takeaways. 1. Hollow Knight is a game about bugs. I know this may come as a shock, but it's true. Watch the video again, and this time, pay attention. You'll notice right away, I promise. 2. Murdering your own babies might not be such a good idea after all. I mean, this is obviously just my interpretation of the game's lore. Other people might have different views on the subject of murdering babies, and every opinion is valid, so I don't want to step on anyone's toes or anything. 3. Menderbug is fucking dead. 4. Nothing is certain. This video probably has a few flaws in it. Trying to construct a cohesive narrative with the information found in Hollow Knight isn't exactly straightforward. I'm sure my views will change in the future, and I encourage you to explore the lore yourself. 5. And this last point is fairly obvious, but I should mention it anyway. Cory in the House is the best anime.
It's a party every week, baby.
Thank you for the video. Thank you for the video. I will leave you a like, a thumbs up. Go check out Mossbag's YouTube channel. for more content like this. It was very informative actually. Good video, good video, good video. All things considered, good video.
I'm your man.
Good video, good video. I appreciated that video. Yeah. All right. So we got lore down. All right. Now it's time for it's time to I don't know. Go that. Oops. Nope. Yeah. Yeah. And I was holding on the space bar. That is indeed what I was doing. There is Silksong lore video potential Silksong sports. Yeah. I'm not. I didn't click it. I wasn't. You know, we're just recommending it for the YouTube and stuff. But yeah, YouTube. Oh right, I need to do my shit. But yeah, YouTube. That's gonna be it for the rest of this is gonna be Lost Media as usual. Bye, and see you tomorrow. Probably for Cyberpunk. But yeah, and then the day after we're gonna start Silksong. Yes, and yeah, bye.